And good evening to all of you that are joining us on this Sunday evening, October the 6th. Depending on where you are in the island of Barbados, a rainy one, with some thunder and some lightning and some floods, I'm told. Someone sent me a video from St. Peter with floods on the road. I couldn't believe what I was seeing in such a small island. But nevertheless, welcome regardless of how the weather has been in your space, in your area of the woods. A real pleasure to have you with us this evening. It's my honor to be here to hold the fort, so to speak, for Marcia until she's able to join us. As you know, she was a part of that solemn walk this evening, and we are looking forward to her joining us in just a few minutes, right? So we want to welcome you to the show tonight. A real joy and a real pleasure to have you with us this evening. All of you, from whatever part of the world you're joining us. I saw someone joining us from Philadelphia. Want to welcome you to the show this evening. Of course, it's great to see you, Alfred, out of Brooklyn. I'm just looking back here to see the individual that joined us out of Philadelphia. I don't want to miss you. But good to have you, Nigel Carrington, and Marcy. Of course, always a joy for me to see you on when I'm here, because I know you're going to remind me of that national anthem, Tironi Hall. And they love 3 Pineapple 246. Well, good evening. And good evening to you, Hasbra. Owen Hines. There you are, Owen. Good night to you. Thank you for joining us all in the way from Philadelphia. And also, of course, as I said, Sir Alfred joining us all the way from Brooklyn in New York. Pleasure to have every single one of you with us this evening. Well, we're up to 166. I'm going to just let it clear through to about 200, if that's okay with you guys. And then I will bring in our favorite song, the national anthem. And of course, as you know, is my tradition, I'm going to follow it up with that pledge of allegiance to my country, Barbados. And as we pointed out on the show a couple of nights ago, the whole aspect of how important our flag is to us, we pledge our allegiance to 2 things. We pledge allegiance to our country and to our flag. And so when we see ministers and members of government not wearing their flag, especially on international trips, it ought to be of concern to us. It makes me wonder what is so embarrassing about our flag that you cannot wear it proudly. And so, we will be doing that. I'm up to 218, so I'm going to go right into the national anthem. I have a few things to share with you this evening, and we have a great show lined up, some great guest panelists coming on tonight. Marcia will be here. Coming out. She's had a busy weekend on Saturday. She's had a part of that distribution of water to the residents of St.LUCY, who have been getting that nasty brown water from their taps in St.LUCY. And she was a part of that. And then this evening, the solemn walk. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it because I think I did a little too much work yesterday, and I believe I sprained my ankle. And so I'm a little incapacitated, not completely, but it's not the easiest thing to walk on. It's a bit painful. So I opted out of the solemn walk this evening just to allow my ankle to recuperate. So let's begin the evening as we ought to in everything to do with Barbados, and that is with our proud national anthem and our flag. Well, yes, yes, yes. Good evening again, and thank you for drawing it to my attention in terms of my volume. I believe it might have been a bit low because I hadn't made the switch over. So just confirm for me that you're hearing me good and loud and clear, because I want to make sure that you get everything we want to share with you this evening. Our national pledge, our national pledge. I pledge allegiance to my country, Barbados, and to my flag to uphold and defend their honor, and by my living to do credit to my nation wherever I go. Great. Thank you, Marcia, for letting me know. And again, I want to welcome all of you, Mildred, Ben, joining us, Joy and Faith, Beverly Prescott, Emerson Babb. Great to have all of you with us this evening. Michael Jilts and it's me, oh Lord, standing in the need of prayer. That's a good name to have. It's me. All right, and Jabard Darrendell. I hope I have that right. Good night to you as well. Clytie Vaughn, I hope I have that right too. And Tony Paris. Tony, welcome. Great to see you here tonight. And Marilyn Brathwaite. Great to have all of you with us tonight. Trevor Blackman and let me make sure I get that right. Travor Blackman, not just Trevor. Travor. I hope you got the spelling right. Tim and Patricia Designs. Great to have you with us again tonight as well. A pleasure to be with you all. It's my honor, as I mentioned, to be with you tonight and to be hosting the show until Marcia is able to join us. I do have very early sessions in the morning, so I'm going to slip away shortly after she joins us, if that's okay with you guys. But really great to have all of you with us tonight. I want to start the show, however, by sending our prayers out to the people in Asheville, North Carolina, and in Florida, and of course, especially again in Florida, when you consider that Hurricane Milton has her target again set on the Florida area of the United States, and our prayers do go out to all of you in Florida, in Georgia, North Carolina, all the areas that have been impacted by Helena. And certainly we are praying and we're thankful to God for the help we see you receiving. I want to give kudos to Samaritan's Purse, that's Franklin Graham, and several of the others that have been doing such great work in trying to reach people in an incredible area, which is normally up in the mountains, areas that are not normally impacted by hurricanes. Now, I don't want to get into the aspect of climate change as a result of climate interference. There is climate change, and there can be no question about climate interference. There are patented aspects of climate interference in the United States, and it's been happening for years. We had the High Altitude Research Project. You'll remember here in Barbados many years ago with a good friend of mine many years ago by the name of Brathwaite, Mr. Brathwaite. I think he was involved with it at the time. That HARP, it was called, Big Gun. And when that thing went off up by the airport, you could feel it all over the island. So we knew as far back as then that they were interfering with the climate in the atmosphere. We know about seeding of hurricanes, where aircraft would go into the hurricanes and they would release ice. This, I can't remember what they call it now, to try to seed the hurricanes. In many instances, they just made it worse. And of course, we know now. This is not conspiracy. This is a fact. I'm not going to take up my whole evening with it, but one has to ask themselves some very serious questions, especially when one considers the fact that Asheville, to the best of my understanding, is one of the richest sources for lithium on the planet, and especially in the United States, which is a important commodity of electric batteries for batteries for electric vehicles. And of course, I am aware already that there are interests with regards to the area of Asheville with that specific thing in mind. You remember, I don't recall the island some months ago where there was this massive fire, and people were dislocated from their homes, and then the next thing you know, all the big guns with all the money and everything bought the place up, are buying the place up and making it high income and high network client stuff and all that kind of stuff. This is not conspiracy. These are facts. And the sooner we wake up to the reality of it, the better. We have had situations here recently over the last several months with American aircraft flying all around our country in the middle of the night. For what? What are you doing around here flying? We are not at war. We don't have anybody interfere with us. Why are you flying around our country? And of course, we know about the microwave technology that is being used to affect climate. So when these people talk about climate change, they're not talking about things that are in the natural realm of stuff. When you look and listen to many of the aspects in areas that they're not interfering with, you go to Brazil and you look at the matter of forest fires where they're trying to claim that there are more forest fires in Brazil than ever before. And the Brazil president put a lie to that and made it clear that that is not the case. So I don't really want to hear a lot of what authorities have to say about much. The entire pandemic that we have just gone through has proven to us what Ronald Reagan said. The most frightening words to hear is that I am from the government and I'm here to help you. I don't care what you think about Reagan. I'm talking about what he said. And that's a fact. We have come to the point now where citizens around the world do not trust their governments. We have a situation here that we only discovered, and I guess they might touch on it later in the program, if it was not for the World Health Organization posting the matter on their website, we would not have known that we had a particular manifestation of one of the latest virus diseases in Barbados. Just one person, and we have heard nothing from the Ministry of Health or from the government. Now, I know they will probably come out and say, you know, you don't want to alarm people or anything of that sort. Give the people the benefit of the doubt. Barbadians are not stupid, and we are not alarmists. We are people who think. We are common sense people. We are supposed to be some of the most literate people in the world. So give us the benefit of the doubt. Tell us when things are here, and don't wait until things get out of hand, then to impose the kind of draconian perspectives that occurred during the last pandemic. But that is not the subject I want to touch on this evening. I want to get quickly to the matter of violence in schools. Now, I was fortunately invited to be on the Sunday Brass Tacks program today, and we had a very, very healthy program to my mind, a very interesting one, a very enlightening one, and I was grateful to be a part of that panel. But I want to address a few things tonight if I can. Now, I know there are people who will always tell us on this show that we're always critical of the government. That is not true. I have been on this show with Marcia and several others that when the government does something well, we commend them for it. Regrettably, there's more they don't get right than that they do get right. So we have a challenge when it comes to the balance of commending them when they don't get enough things right. And more specifically, let me deal with the matter of violence in our schools. Now, I heard, I listened, and I saw an article carried today on the Starcom, well, not carried today, article carried on the Starcom website with regards to a, well, they say it wasn't a press conference. They said it was an address by the Minister of Education, Kay McConney, with regards to the matter of violence in schools. And there are a couple of things I want to comment on. First of all, I want to say to the government, when you campaigned in 2018, a part of your campaign was, and I quote, from your manifesto, an immediate plan of action to end the current epidemic of violence in schools. Listen to my wording. Address violence and bullying among school children by placing more guidance counselors and social workers and starting anger management and conflict resolution classes in schools by September 2018. engage civil society and faith-based organizations to support school programs targeted at reducing conflict, bullying, and indiscipline, equipping students to deal with anger and conflict in non-violent ways, and to reduce the incidence of violence in schools, to ensure a reliable and timely school bus service, and from September 2018, placing safety officers on buses and at places where students and young people congregate in large numbers. End of quote. I have just read from the 2018 manifesto of the government. We are now in 2024, and in 2018, you committed to stamping out, bringing an end to the current epidemic of violence in schools. But what have we seen in reality? What we have seen in reality is an escalation of violence in our schools. So that's the first point I want to make. You have now been in office since 2018. This is 2024. That's 6 years you have had to discuss, meet with all of the partners involved in education to come up with a strategy to eliminate violence in schools and to improve the educational system, infrastructure, etc., in our educational system in Barbados. Yet, here we are discussing the matter in October of 2024. I do not want to hear anything further about dialogue and discussions and meetings. It seems that we spend all of our time doing nothing but meeting and talking and talking and talking and talking. What the people in Barbados need to see, what parents need to see, what teachers need to see, what principals need to see is action. We need to see things happening and quit the talking. This is not the time to be establishing a meeting process with the partners involved. You should have done that ever since. Ever since you should have done that. You should have had your meetings with the PTAs and the Barbados Union of Teachers and the religious group, and you should have by now had laid out, rolled out a strategy to engage this matter. So I don't want to hear any more nonsense about dialogue and talk. We've had enough of that. Maybe what you need to do is to sit down and go through the minutes of those meetings and pull from those meetings the valuable and important things and begin to implement them. That's the second thing I want to speak about. The third thing I want to mention is the disingenuous manner in which the Minister of Education mentioned it was only 1%. Only 300 students, only 1%. In other words, what's the big deal? Why are we making a big fuss about that? I'm going to tell you why we're making a big fuss about that, Madam Minister. I don't know if you have children. I don't know if you have grandchildren. But we are making a big fuss about it because that could be my grandson. When that young man at Dighton Griffith reached for a sharp object, he could have been reaching for that sharp object within the area and space of my grandson, whom, had he got his hands on it, if he was not resisted, could have been a casualty in his anger and frustration. That is why it is important, the 1%, 300. As a matter of fact, I want to say to you, Madam Minister of Education, that out of these so-called 37,000 to 40,000 students you have in school, all of them are capable of violent acts. Every single one of them. Not 300, all 40,000 of them. Because they are coming more often than not from households that are dysfunctional. They're coming from households where they are seeing examples placed before them that are not conducive to the development of an environment where they will be able to dialogue and resolve conflict in the appropriate manner when they see things happening. And so for us to be talking about it's only 1%, it's good and proper for that to be expressed until that 1% affects your child and impacts my child. And that is where the 1% all of a sudden becomes 100%, because that 1% you're talking about is the 1% that is manifested, but you have no idea what the others who are in the school environment are carrying and what will trigger their responses in a matter in which they are confronted with conflict. You have no idea, no idea whatsoever. The minister noted that school safety officers were introduced in 2019 at the most at-risk secondary schools. Madam Minister, all of the secondary schools are at risk. All of the government private schools are at risk, not just the ones that you deem to be challenging or problematic, because you just do not know what is going to happen in the school environment at any point in time. And so it is important, rather than dealing with something after the fact, which we are now doing, that mechanisms be put in place before the fact so that we can help to alleviate and avoid those situations occurring in the first place. That's one of the other things I wanted to make mention of as well. I wanted to also touch on the matter, just pulling my notes here, even from today. I wanted to touch on the matter of the adjustments in the educational program, which some of our young people on the show today, Shakwani and a couple others that were on the show today, raised so eloquently. The whole aspect of the reassessment of the educational system to make provision for those who are more leaning towards skills than they are leaning toward academia. Now, I make the point, and I agree with the point that was made today, that no matter what you engage where the preparation of a child is concerned, whether it be in non-academic areas or academic areas, if you are going to say to me the child's leaning is toward a particular aspect, maybe toward woodwork or metalwork or whatever, there's still a need for that child to know mathematics, or what we could call it arithmetic, mathematics, to know matters to do with physics, how things affect each other, chemistry, and in some instances even biology. If you have a person who wants to lean toward being a veterinarian, for that matter, because they just love animals, they need to learn biology. And one of the things I like about the American system, especially when it comes to matters of sports, is that in spite of the fact that you may excel in a particular sport, they still require you to maintain an exceptional level within the context of your academic performance, so that you are able to qualify and to graduate in certain levels of specific games. For example, a guy with a basketball, brilliant basketball player, but there has to be a calculation made in his mind as a result of understanding how triangular matters are set up from where he is with a ball in his hand, that he could throw a three-pointer, because he has to measure the distance from him to the net, and the height and the force he needs to generate in order to reach that basket, in terms of getting that matter regarding getting that goal, and that could very well be the winning goal. So I do not want us to push aside the academics at the expense of the skills and abilities that child has. And one of the words of wisdom I would like to leave with parents tonight is to pay attention to the leanings of your child as they are growing and developing. And there are two areas particularly I want to touch on. One has to do with the matter of values, and the other has to do with their leaning toward particular skills. Children, we are told by the Jesuits, if you give them the child for the first 7 years, they will show you the man or the woman in terms of the gender of the child. It means that those children are watching what is happening from the time they are able to process, and even before, when we think they're not processing, they are processing. And so I believe it is important that we give them good values as they're growing up in our homes. And that comes also from what is more important to you. And they watch you. Is it more important for you to spend $5 buying a soft drink and a double, or $5 in helping a poor person on the street and maybe buying a meal for them? Those examples establish values within a child's life. And you can go on. Things that we think they are not watching, they are watching. And one day it suddenly comes out and it shocks us. And so I want us to treat to that. The second area has to do with watching their skills and developments and so on, in terms of what their leanings are toward. Many of you would know that as my sister grew up through life in primary school into secondary school, her leaning was toward athletics. Not that she did not do very well in her academics, but she leaned it toward athletics. And we know as a result of that, her feet carried her all the way to, I think, 2 or 3 Olympics. I was present in when she used to live in Washington, D.C. I visited her home, her apartment at that time, and in her apartment was furniture and so on that was outfitted because of her feet, what she won, because they give you proper prizes in the U.S. when you perform. Okay, so we need to understand the interests of our children and begin to guide them towards that. Teachers need to be sensitive to those areas as well. And time does not permit me to go into a number of the areas of solutions that we could engage as it relates to this whole matter of education. I have been very hesitant, although I feel very strongly, to call to recommend to the Minister of Education to graciously and honorably resign. And I say that against this background. I want you to listen to this under her watch. At St. Catherine Primary School, a knife incident. At the Dighton Griffith, a cutlass incident. At Alexandra, a stabbing. Resignation of principals and teachers at the beginning of this school year. A disastrous start to the school year with many facilities not being prepared. Late transfer of principals. The late opening of schools. The IADB fiasco that we all learned about. The debacle at the Springer Memorial School. The issue that arose at the St. Philip Primary School with the matter of gender-neutral bathrooms. And I could go on and on and on. Anybody who presides over such a declining aspect of performance generally is fired, or does the honorable thing, resign. Because clearly we have not only had issues in this area, but we have also had issues in a declining performance academically of our children, not only here, give you grant across the Caribbean, but particularly in the aspect, I think, of mathematics, it was mentioned. So when you are presiding over what can be seen to be a consistently failing process, the honorable thing to do is to identify somebody who can get it handled and resign, step out of the way and give somebody else the opportunity to perform. Well, my time slot has gone, to be honest with you, but there's so much more I can say on the subject, but I want to honor the schedule that I am always given, because that's how we have to be on the program to ensure we cover so many aspects that are brought to us on a daily basis. I must say that today, as I was on Brass Tacks, I made a note as to the fact that almost every day we are dealing with something else when it comes to this country, some other issue, the World Health Organization, the failure of the Ministry of Health to inform us of a new disease that is now in the country, whole debacle of things that continuously come up where this administration is concerned. But my time, I'm going to admit, has wound down, and I want to keep this program moving very, very quickly. I see some familiar faces in the back room that I'm going to treat to very shortly, and have them coming in. But I want to bring in the lady really of the show, and I know so many of you all have grown just to love and appreciate her. She is a fine individual, and she is an activist. She is a disturber of the abnormal, or the things that are happening. She is not satisfied just to see things continue in the status quo. So, ladies and gentlemen, permit me to add to our program tonight Madam Marcia Weeks. Good evening, Marcia, and so nice to see you after your solemn walk, looking so bright and sprightly. You don't look like
Well,
you at all.
well, Dr. Ferdy, I just want to thank you so much that, and I say it all the time, and people think, they're just saying these things about each other, but really, when I know that I can count on you, I can call you. I said, Dr. Ferdy, can you open for me? And you weren't at the march, at the solemn walk today. But I knew that I could call on you, and here we are. And I just want to say thank you so much. I've been listening. I started listening on the road coming in, working coming in, and I'm so glad. I'm so glad to be on tonight, really. And I am glowing. The reason I'm glowing because we had such an amazing solemn walk. I don't want you to
Wow,
feel bad,
wow, wow. No, 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 you go right ahead and try to make me feel bad.
but it was really amazing. And
Yes, I have no
I
doubt.
have with me here, and I'm not even going to keep them back because we have children involved, and I
Yes,
don't want to keep them. Um, I don't want to keep them here too late because they have school tomorrow. But
yeah.
we have with us Caleb King, Caleb the King. Good evening, Caleb.
Good evening, Caleb.
Easy.
Yes, oh, Caleb the King. Welcome, welcome.
Thank
Well,
you.
Caleb, it's so good to have you here, and we have Joshua Jones with us as well. Good
Good
evening,
night.
Joshua. Good evening. Good evening. Well, these two young men, I am featuring them tonight because the title says "Children Serving Their Communities," and we're talking about the water drive and the solemn walk. And I am going to bring on Shaquani Hunt. I hope she's available. Yes, Shaquani is there. And so we're going to
Shakwani.
talk first. We're going to talk first. Yes, thank you. We're going to talk first about the water drive and these two young men because Shaquani is smiling ear to ear and I'm smiling ear to ear because we talk about our young people, we talk about our children, and we talk about them down in their gadgets, and they are and they're not doing anything productive. We worry about them with crime and violence and so on. But my husband brought these two gentlemen with us to the water drive in St. Lucie yesterday. And somebody might look at them and say, where is he going with these two young men? And I tell you, Dr. Ferdinand, from the time they hit where they were supposed to go, they were working, they were sweating. And and I just was amazed at them. And they picked up a little friend in the community, and I'm going to remember his name very very soon. Right, that's our little friend there in the community from Ellerslie, and he joined us in the end there and was giving out the water. He just was beaming. He was running with us from house to house and giving out the water. And I want to commend these children tonight. And before they even speak, I will ask Shaquani to just Shaquani, would you a good night, Shaquani? Would you agree with me about these two young
And
men?
Marcia, they were excellent. They were excellent. Jumping off the truck, lifting up cases of water. I'm more sure there's a picture with one of them with a case of water on their head.
Wow.
They're
Yes,
going to people, explaining what they're doing, trying to find out if they need water, if they want it brought in. Like, they were amazing.
Yes, there were. And I'm gonna, if you have that picture with them with the water on their head, I think you sent me, but send it to Dave for me. Or if you send it to me
Mm.
singly, I should be able to. If not, I will try and find it. But I know there is a picture with them with the water on their heads. And these two young men, people, they left their phones in the car for hours. What time did we finish Shakwani yesterday, giving all the water?
Oh my gosh, we probably finished like minutes to four.
Wow.
Finished pretty late.
Wow.
Minutes
I
Wow.
to
remember
four.
asking them at one point, "Are you guys tired? You want to sit in the van?" They said, "No, we're not tired. We could walk more because in St. Lucie, we had to walk long distances alongside the vehicles to distribute the water."
Wow.
Yes,
Wow.
yes, because of
Fantastic.
how the densely populated the place. And this is, I think his name is the
Delano.
Kwani. I'm going to
I wonder if it's Delano or
Delano,
yeah,
Delano.
Delano.
Delano from St. Lucie, you're from Ellerslie School. Sorry, we did not have a number to send you a link tonight. We are so proud of you. You showed us all the homes and you ran to the old people's homes, those who could not come out. He knew the ones who needed this water, and he was running with bottles of water to give to the people in the community. I'm
He's
telling
already
you,
he's
there
already
were
doing his
adults there,
canvassing.
but I wanted to single out these young people, and this was put on
Yes.
by the
Yes.
young DEMS. You had Ralph Thorne was there, the president of the DLP was there, and so on. But tonight we're featuring the boys, these young boys. Well, let's go to them. Let's go to them. Let me hear from Joshua first. Joshua, you were there from very early because we picked you up in St. Philip and we dropped you there from 10 o'clock. Can you walk us through, first of all, why did you decide that you wanted to come out and give water?
Good night. I chose to come out to help water because I didn't think it was fair that the people in St. Lucie had to drink and buy water all the time. So I just wanted to come outside and help them.
Yes, you
Wow.
didn't think it was fair, you said?
Yes, please. I didn't think it was fair.
You didn't think it was
Wow.
fair. So how did you know that the people in St. Lucie did not have any water? Who told you that?
Uncle Dave told me, and I saw a video, and the water was very nasty. It was brown. It was just disgusting.
Yes, yes. And when Uncle Dave called you, you said you will go.
I was excited to come. I could not wait.
Wow.
What?
Wow. Wow. Wow.
Did you
Wow.
hear what he said? He could not wait.
He put in some
Oh
of us
God.
to shame, Marcia. Putting some of us to shame.
He putting us to shame. And
Wow.
so when you were there, I know that as soon as you saw people coming up to the George Street Auditorium with the bottles and so on, we showed you the first person, and after that you would run to the gate and get the water from the adults. Tell me about that.
I remember there was a pregnant lady, and she was not able to lift up the water or anything. So Caleb and I had to bring the water to her door, place it inside her house so that she was able to get water whenever she needed. So
Wow.
I just wanted to help out.
Well, you heard
Wow.
what he said. There was a pregnant lady, and he and Caleb was able to get the water into their homes. Guys, you need to share up
Huh?
this live. You need to share up this live tonight.
Wow.
We'll be on here. Ralph Thorne is on here, and it's 1400, 1600. That's what it should go tonight because we started out last week with so many, I mean, fighting in the schools and all the things happen. And I want to thank the DEMS, the young DEMS, for organizing this. And these children came out, they're not thinking about whatever, any party, whatever. They just came out because there was a need and they came to help. Caleb, talk to me. Caleb, I know you love your phone, but when you got there, you gave me your phone to keep in the car. Why did you do that? Good night,
Woo.
Caleb.
When I gave you the phone because if I didn't, I would have been playing my music and I would have been distracted, changing it all the time. I'd probably play football when it was on the truck too. And so if I didn't, I would have been really distracted. and I would have been locked in.
Well,
Wow, wow.
folks. Shaquani, Caleb came there. I'm sure Caleb came with a football. Caleb, did you come with a football?
Yes, please.
Caleb came with a football, and I said, "Oh my God, I really hope this child don't think he's gonna play the football and give out the water." But he left both the football and the phone. Right? He left both the football and the phone in the car, and right there in the van. And Dave was like, "What? They left their phones?" Yes, and they were giving out water. Caleb, what was the most interesting thing you saw as you were giving out the water there, distributing the water in Crab Hill and Content, St. Lucie? What was the most interesting thing that you saw?
The most interesting thing that I saw is that when we were passing through a gap, they had workers working on a pipe, and when the car passed through, they asked if they could get water. And the same people that working on the water on the pipe, they said, "Lucy, want clean water to drink." And yeah, Joshua was just like, "Y'all want water?" He's like, "Fine, but we don't got the cold water, so we just get up with regular water."
So
Mar-
you thought it was
that
hilarious
is
that the
Mar-
Barbados Water Authority people were asking you guys for water.
Yeah,
Marcia. He is telling the absolute truth. He is. He is.
How ironic can that be? Oh my
Wow, wow,
goodness.
wow, wow, wow. These are the two of them there walking with the water, and the sun was hot, And so when the older ones like us, we couldn't go. I stayed in the car a little bit, man. That sun was beating down. These children, you saw the sweat. I felt so sorry. I said, "Oh God, I wanted to get them out of the sun." I'm thinking, Shaquana, this is child labor, right?
Marcia, I
Because the
asked
sun
them to
is
get
so
in the
hot.
vehicles. They told me they don't want to go in the vehicles. They want to be on the road walking. They're fine. They're not hot. They
Wow.
said,
So, Kwani, what when you saw these little men, I know you are the one who, along with the young Dems,
mm,
put this together. And
mm.
you saw these young men coming with, there to help and the way they were helping. Explain to me how that made you feel.
I was honestly truly grateful because, as I said, everything counts. Every person counts, and you know what you can do. So if they could carry one bottle of water, 1 gallon of water, they can still carry a lot. And I saw them lifting up cases. So it was amazing to truly see people that age out helping. And I know the community really appreciated that as well. Because I can tell you, they were knocking, they were speaking to people, and they're very articulate. So it was very eye-opening to see these young people. They saw a problem, they wanted to assist, and they just went on. We always had someone there with them, but they knew what they were doing. As we seeing us doing it, it was very easy for them to adapt to the situation.
Yes, I think so. And they didn't care about who was there. I don't even know if they realized that Ralph Thorne was there or who was there. This is a man, oh my goodness, he just saw what was happening, and he left his house. This one you see on the
Mhm.
screen, right? The Sean. And I'm saying the wrong name, right? Huh?
I think it's Delano. I think
Delano. I'm gonna write it down because I don't know where I'm getting this is Sean. Delano in Saint Delano in Crabby Hill. He goes to Ellerslie. Big up to him. He just jumped into action, Angela. Angela Eunice Knight, I know you brought some water there. Thank you so much. This young man jumped into action. And we are featuring the young men tonight, Dr. Ferdinand, because we see tonight we were holding up placards there with the names of young men on it. And here we have these young men here sweating bullets and working hard. And just for those who said, don't put them up there when they were. This is when the van was stationary. Okay, while it
yes.
was driving, they sat inside and it was driving slow because we want to make sure that they didn't hurt themselves. But Shakari, all these wrong names tonight.
That's
Shakwani,
okay. Uh-huh.
Shakwani, you did this also on your birthday. And Shakwani, We are bigging up these young
Wow.
people. But Shaquani is herself a young woman, a young woman. And Shaquani, you could have been enjoying yourself, but you did this on your birthday, and you didn't plan it because it didn't work out last week, and so it
Yeah.
was pushed back to this week. And you didn't skip a beat. You were out there in the sun hot, up and down with these little boys.
Yeah. Marcia can tell you, I got so much birthday wishes. I have not even responded to it as yet because when we were out there, the focus was getting the water out, making sure people had enough water, and we shared it out in a manner that everybody, well, not everybody, but we helped as much people as we possibly could.
Yeah, so
That
Shaquani, stay with me a little bit. I want to continue to speak to these young men, and then we're going to release them, Dr.
no
Ferdinand,
problem.
because I
Uh-huh.
promised their parents that they would
Yes,
get back
yes,
in time to get ready for school for eight
yes,
o'clock.
absolutely.
No
So
problem.
so I want to go back to them because I know. Can you tell me where you go to school, Joshua? Joshua Jones is his name. Joshua, where do you go to school?
I go to school at Grade Silly Secondary School.
Graydon Sealy Secondary School. Did you hear his diction and his? You hear
Oh,
how he speaks?
yes.
You hear how he speaks?
Yes.
Oh my goodness!
Wow.
Now, Joshua, you in first or second form?
I'm in first form.
So he's new, very new to Graydon Sealy. And I want to move this conversation a little bit, Joshua, into what we see happening in the schools all of last week. There was a young man who was stabbed at your school. When you hear about all of this violence in the school, etc., what do you feel about that? What are your thoughts about it? You go to a school and you see fights. How many fights you see a day?
At least 4 to 5 fights a day.
At least
Wow.
4 to 5 fights a day, and it's mainly young men fighting.
Not just like with their fists, sometimes objects like pens, pencils, tables, chairs, whatever they could find.
Whatever they
Wow.
could find. So as a first former, you are at a first former being at the school, and you're seeing all of this happening. How does it, how does it make you feel? Do you feel safe at the school?
In points, yes and no, because all the violence, I just try to stay far away from it.
Yes, yes. You try to stay far. Far. Do they have a lot of it in your class itself?
Pardon me?
Do you have a lot of violence in your class?
Only one recently, but not anymore.
Not anymore, not anymore. So you would like to see the violence, subside and be ended in the schools. I would think, right?
Yes, please.
Yes, yes, yes.
Wow.
That's so true. Now,
Wow.
let me go to Caleb.
Wow.
Caleb, you were out. Joshua wasn't there today, but you were also on the solemn walk. So yesterday, you went. You were at the guys. Are you sharing this live? I wanted to. You see how why I came on here so bright and happy tonight. The reason I came on so bright and happy tonight, I wanna put back the banner so that people can see what we are talking about, right? But I want people to know that Caleb was out yesterday for hours. You hear what I tell you? Hours, because I'm sure Caleb was there for probably 4 or 5 hours in that sun hot serving water, because there were hundreds, I mean, over 100 cases of water and over 100 gallons of those gallon thing that they were giving out to people. But Caleb, you are back out again for the solemn walk today. Can you
Wow.
describe what you
Wow.
experienced in Chapman Lane, Caleb?
Um, I had a good time, but if me and Joshua couldn't help, I don't know if oh today,
Can you can
today,
you uh,
today, oh
okay.
today, okay, I see. Today in Bridgetown, okay. Oh, I got a little sidetracked. Today in Bridgetown, we have bad weather, but we still performed and gave out to the needy. Probably some people didn't agree. Um, there was a certain man that was shouting Carol on the truck, but other way we performed good. Yeah.
Yes, and how did when you saw them with the everybody? Did you carry a placard as well
Yes, please.
with a name on it?
Yes, please. I had the name of Tyrell Prescott.
Wow.
Tyrell, Tyrell Prescott, and you
Wow.
remember that name?
Wow.
Yes, please.
And what you saw to remember it, or you just you read it and then you told yourself you're going to try to remember this name?
Yeah, I read it and I said I was gonna try to remember this thing.
Why? Tell me why you wanted to remember the name. And for those who are watching, we carried the placards of the 40 young men who have died and killed by gun violence in Barbados in this year. And Caleb was carrying the name of one of the young men. Why did you try to memorize Tyrone Prescott's name?
I had to remember it because of two things. One is when we have put down the placards to go and perform. I had to remember my name that I had, and the second reason was that the person was very young and I felt bad.
You felt bad for that person. How old was
Wow.
that person?
Probably, I think it was 27 or 26.
Yes, and you thought
Wow.
that was very sad. It made
Yeah,
you sad to know that that person died that young.
yeah. I even saw. I think it was like an elderly person. He was holding up a baby. I was like, when I had saw that, I was like, a baby, unborn. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Cause like
Wow.
27, 19, and then an unborn. Like, what are they doing?
Wow. Wow.
Mhm.
Wow.
And what would you want to say, Caleb, to those who are perpetuating or those who are continuing the violence in the country? What would you want to say to them?
There's no need for it, and there's bunch of choices that you could settle it without just ending it all. And if you end it all, you probably gonna end your life going into jail.
Mm-hmm. And what
Wow.
are you said that there are a bunch of ways that people could deal with the violence. What are some of the ways that they could deal with the violence?
Well, some of the ways is talking it out, walking away, or giving them a chance to speak, or just leave.
Yes. So these are ways that they can deal with the violence in school. Where do you go to school, Caleb?
I attend the School of St. Leonard's.
Right, you are at St. Leonard's school, and do you see a lot of fighting at school?
Well, I don't see fights, but sometimes they like bring like some of these stir farmers. They bring school like boxing gloves and they at lunchtime they like do boxing matches and stuff. But no, I haven't seen any serious fights
Wow,
from
that's interesting.
from in my class though. I think we had two fights in the same day over some stupid controversy. So yeah.
Big word. Yeah, you had some controversy going on in school. Well, Caleb, I am so proud of you. And I want
Yes.
to
Yes.
thank you for being out there today. This what you're seeing on the screen is Praise Academy, which Caleb was part of today, performing out doing street theater, and they were very well received. I tell you, those of you who missed. The ones of you who missed today, Dr. Purdy, you missed a big one today. These were the young people out there performing out their hearts, and the guys
Wow.
on the block, what they took out their phones. The guys on the blocks, we can't show everybody because you don't want to show everybody's
Yeah.
thing,
Yeah.
but they were videotaping the children today, and they really, really enjoyed it. Being out there today. So we wanna thank them, Caleb, and Praise Academy. This is Praise Academy out there performing today, out there falling down on the ground and the street theater, and they were bringing a message in dance, in song, in theater today, right there. Now
Wow.
let
Wow.
me go
Fantastic.
before they go. We have 4 minutes with them, Dr. Freddie. I want to ask little Joshua. Joshua, what do you want to? If you could speak respectfully, because you're only what, 11 years old.
Yes, please.
Joshua, you're 11 years old, and if you could speak respectfully to those who are in charge of this country, those who govern this country, what would you say to them about the fact that there are people in Barbados who are getting brown, stinking water coming out of their tap? Or like yesterday, the people said we haven't had a drip of water in so long. What would you respectfully say to that adult that is in charge? Those adults in charge of this country. What would you say, Joshua?
All I would say is that they should not still be paying for water bill if they still cannot like use it, because it isn't really healthy to use dirty water, and at the end of the day they still need to buy water to bathe with, drink, cook, etc., and start to pay the water bill. So like that is a lot of working and unnecessary money being spent.
Wow.
Wow.
I'm
Wow.
not even saying anything more after that, because that's what
Wow.
this young man is saying, because he would have heard the people in the community saying that they're paying water bill. And for him at 11 years old, he cannot understand why they are paying water bill and they're not getting water. Caleb, I'm going to ask you now a different question. What, you are 11 as well, right?
No, please, I'm 12.
Yeah, Pucha, you're 12.
That's a big difference, child. Let me tell you, that's a big difference. Believe me.
Caleb, you are 12. Okay, 12-year-old Caleb. Now, Caleb King, as we have here, Caleb the King. Caleb, let me ask you the same question, but about a different topic. So I would ask you, what would you say respectfully to the adults who are in charge of this country concerning the gun violence and the violence in schools? What would you say to them?
I would say that you should have more restrictions to the persons who are selling the guns, and you should have a safer community throughout the country.
Wow. Dr. Ferdinand, I'm saying nothing more.
I can't say anything, Marcia.
I'm
I
saying,
can't say anything. I'll let them have the show.
oh my goodness. Dr. Ferdinand, as they go, because it's a minute to 8, and I did promise their parents it will be finished by 8. What do you want to say to them before they go?
Well, to be honest with you, Marcia, I'm looking at two leaders of the future. And I'd like to say to them to keep up your attitude and your the things that you have been obviously schooled in from your home, your family, the values and the skills and the abilities that you have. But even more importantly, try to share them with some of your peers, because just as much as in school you can get the negative being shared, you also have the capability from how you've demonstrated yourselves this weekend to share the positives and the good things as well. So affect your peers, bring about change in their lives by your example. Fantastic. I'm very proud of you both. Very, very proud of you. You're to be commended, and your parents and grandparents and family are to be commended, as several in the chat have indicated.
Yes, and I want to just also say I was going to commend their parents who are listening. Thank you so much for allowing them to come and to join us
Yes,
tonight. Thank
yes.
you to those who have allowed them to be part of Praise Academy in one way or the other,
Wow.
as well, and to entrust them in our care. And I want to say also to my husband, Dave Weeks, who, I mean, he does it every single Sunday, and I'm amazed at this man. 3 o'clock on a Sunday, that Zoom is on, and those young men he had these young men from about 8. What time did you start coming on the Zoom with Uncle Dave at Joshua? Is it 8 or 9? What?
I think probably not going to 9.
About
Something,
eight and a
something.
half, thereabout. Eight
Yeah,
and a half.
that's
Caleb,
it.
what time did you start coming on the Zoom with Uncle Dave?
Um, I think it was about 8 years old.
Yes, I think so. Looking at the years, I think it's about 8 years old that Caleb started to do the Zoom with Dave, and you know why I do this, Dr. Ferdinand, because Dave does this without any recognition. This is the kind of work that you get, and nobody says anything to you, about it, because it's not in the limelight. It's not like what I do, but he takes his young men. Do you understand what it means? Like 3 o'clock on a Sunday. Sometimes I'm like, Dave, we could go out and do this. He said, no, no, we have to plan it around these young men, and he mentors them. He teaches them different things that they come on. He brings on speakers to them, and I want to really commend Dave for what he's poured into their lives, and the fact that he was able to invite them out to the water distribution and to the solemn march today. Well, I invited them to the solemn march today. I think that is awesome work, and that's the kind of work that is needed to help our communities. Well, Caleb and Joshua, it's like in the Bible, Caleb and Joshua. Dr. Ferdinand, I want to say, I
Wow.
want to say I want to say thank you so much for coming on tonight, and for sharing your views with us. And we want to invite you to come back on every now and again. Okay, when you have something you want to share, you just give Auntie Marcy a call, and you can come on and tell us all about it. Okay?
Yes, please.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
please.
Yes. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
God bless you. Bye
All right.
bye.
You too. Bye.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And the reason I want to single out their parents, and I want to also single out what Dave is doing, because it takes a village. It takes a village. And that's what today was all about, us going into Chapman's Lane. It takes a village. It takes all of us working together. And I want to say to everybody that's on tonight, folks, it is so important that you put on your clothes. Well, you're not going to come naked, but that you get dressed and you come whenever we're going into the communities. It's so important. You should see the children that were watching the presentation, and some of them they want to present like that. They want to dance like that. Let's watch a little bit of this community work by the children. Okay, it stopped there, but the point is that these young people were out there in their numbers today, and 6, 7 years old were out there in Chapman Lane with their parents, of course, and they were serving them. Some were serving food, some were dancing, some were singing, right? And this is what, these are some of the things that they were doing out there today. And this is what I believe that we need to engage our children in, Dr. Ferdinand. I see Mr. Murray there, and he's going to come on to talk about our civics. He's going to talk about civics. And I think this will flow right into what he has to share tonight. Our children serving the community. And today was very special. We had more children out there, Dr. Ferdinand, than we ever had. And
Wow.
I think,
Wow.
and because of that, more children came out of their homes to see the children, you
Yes.
know.
Yes.
And I think well, please listen out for the next location in the next 2 weeks. Come out, Barbadians, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. Come out. Let us do something. Everybody putting our hands and hearts where we can. We were able to, there was just so much. I don't know if Dave can quickly, Dave, if you have the pictures of the food that was given out. You're not going to see people taking the food. We're not going to do that. Well, okay, we're not going to show people. We're not going to show people taking food and so on. But these were some of the young people there, and sharing the food there. That is Janine Butcher from the Young Dems. They came out, even though this was something put on by other social groups. The Young Dems were there today again, and that is Janine Butcher, serving and sharing, and they were packing out all the food supply. Walk Holy, the Kadumet band provided, got donations, and had all of that food out there. So I want to give big kudos to the Walk Holy Kadumet band, that is working along with the Solemn March and making sure that we have food for distribution, etc. That was happening out there, and our young people were in full motion, because when the sun is hot, a lot of the older people, it's too hot. But these young people, they're out there, and they were showing me, Auntie, look, the homeless is over there. Let's get some food for the homeless. So, oh, look, this person needs food, Auntie. That one. And I want to thank also the lady who cooked the food, and it was delicious. I had a little of it too. They were sharing out to the homeless, people sleeping on the streets, etc., and people within the community. And we want to thank them
Wonderful.
for doing
Oh,
that
wow.
today. Today was tremendous. Today was a tremendous success, Dr.
Wow.
Purdy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, Marcia, just watching this, it just thrills your heart. And it just goes to show that there are a lot of really great young people out there that are obviously getting some great examples from their homes and their families, and they're doing their part in maintaining the right way of doing things, and they're interested in what's happening in their country and in their community, and it augurs very well for the future. Could you imagine if out of 40,000 students, we are told, in the educational system, if we could get 30,000 of them, 35,000 of them, well, I'm told there are only about 300 deviant, but so let's say 39,700 could be like this, it would turn our country around. It's wonderful to see them doing this, and I'm sorry I couldn't be a part of it. As you know, my ankle was speaking to me more a little more than anything else. I
Yes,
sprained it
I know.
yesterday
But you're
trying to
normally
do some
there.
work. Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
you're normally there.
absolutely.
This on the screen is another young lady from Garrison. She's actually in fifth form, and she came out today to pack up the bags, and she was singing and dancing on the street there today. And so we want to just to make mention of Khadija from the Garrison Secondary School. No, what's the name? Graydon Seeley Secondary School. I'm
Yeah,
hoping that parents who are listening, the next solemn walk, bring the children. The police, they're there in their numbers. They came out today, so you don't have anything to worry about. God is with us, right?
yes,
There's nothing to worry about. All is well. Well,
and
we've got to turn over to Mr. Glenn Murray as he talks about civics.
I just want to say before you go to Glenn, the schools are to be commended to, Marcia. Because I heard, what is it, Graydon? What were the two schools?
St.
St.
Leonard's and
Leonard's
Graydon
and
Sealy.
Graydon Sealy, and I think it would be commendable to let the principals know of the performance of their students in this area and encourage them to to get other students out the next time we're doing something like this.
I think that's a brilliant idea. I'm going to ask the ask Shaquani or Janine Butcher to write a letter and for us to send it to the school to
Yes,
let them commend these young men. I think
yes,
that's a great idea,
yes.
and to send
I
the
think
pictures along with them.
yes,
Oh, I
absolutely,
love that. I love
absolutely.
this. I love that. That's a great idea, Dr. Ferdinand. That's civics. But let me turn let me turn over to the amazing Mr. Glenn Murray. Your camera went off, Mr. Murray.
Dear me.
Oh, sorry about that.
I hope it's not a case of monkey handling gun, right? You
No,
have a
no,
little,
no.
you have a little echo in your back though, Klein. I don't know if you have a speaker on or something like
Uh, no, not that I'm aware of. There's no speaker on nearby. I don't know
that.
if
Oh,
the earphones picking up something or what. But
I think
is that any better?
yeah. I think your earphone may
Yeah,
have
it's
fallen out your
better.
ear. Much
It's
better.
better. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. First of all, thank you very much for having me again, Marcia. And I am going to speak on civics. As I said, uh, civics lessons continued. But before I do that, and I'm doing this as a result of the many requests I got to continue like this theme, because people said they learned a lot. There was little things about Barbados, little golden nuggets about Barbados they never knew existed. It made them feel better about themselves and the country. But before I do that, Maris, I want to thank you very much for by using those children, by having this program. You actually were indulging and inculcating and giving practical demonstrations of civics to those youngsters. They live civics today. They were engaged in society, making a contribution to society, and helping develop the whole Barbadian society as a group. So they had a practical lessons in physics, which no lesson, no lecture from a teacher can ever
Hmm.
impart. And I
Yes.
think it's something that will stay with you for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
Congratulations again, Marcia. Like I said, the civics is that one of the reasons why I picked this theme and it grew more and more on me is that with all the non-performance and malperformance and the general decline in the performance of Barbados as a country in areas that we did not that we had gallivanted before and we were very up and gung ho before, I felt it'd be good to go back and reflect to see what brought us to the point where we could have been uh, enjoy the kind of prestige and whatnot. Even when we were a county, Marcia, we were regarded as a very good performer in our administration. Uh, Infrastructure wise, government wise, financial management, etc. We were highly regarded for the quality of the Barbados administration. And you might say what you like about colonialism and the colonizers, but at the point they left some good institutions and practices, which we thereafter built upon for many years and helped to rise the standard, keep the standard of Barbados rising until recently. As a matter of fact, uh, between between for 291 years, between 1627 and 2018, Barbados had never defaulted on a loan.
Hmm.
291 years. As a matter of fact, rather than default on our loan, we had the proud boast of never having received a grant in aid colony. But in other words, Britain never subsidized us as a country. Barbados, by its careful management, thriftiness, responsible management, even by the colonizers, because they lived here too. They were part of the society. And I tell you more about that. Barbados always shown for responsible leadership. So even then we set examples, we learned. And we never defaulted on a loan. We never, like I said, we always raised and paid for our own day-to-day administration from out of our own resources. So quite the opposite of what we're doing now. We're in the part of Bird and Boss and IMF or whatever. So it really is something non-Barbadian. As a matter of fact, Barbados did so well in the 18th century that we were as a colony that we were regarded as we were once dubbed the fairest jewel in the crown of England. We pre- we produced so much wealth for England that we were termed we more wealth out of Barbados than all the other colonies put together. And part of the reason for that is that we had what was regarded as one of the lowest rate of absentee lordisms in Barbados. In other words, more Barbadian planters, etc., landowners lived in Barbados, stayed in Barbados, then went back to England and sent their profits to England. So they kept most money in Barbados, plowed it back in the country and developed it. And that is a key ingredient. We had the lowest rate. In other words, they saw themselves as Barbadians first, and therefore they were inclined to develop Barbados in that way. That is why in 1652, when Britain tried to, when Cromwell tried to commandeer Barbados,
Yes.
and what, right? The Treaty of Oistins, we had enough fortification that we kept Britain at bay for 3 months because they want to impose taxes on Barbados to go to England. And we said, no, no taxation for representation.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where George Washington got that phrase from in 1752 when he came to Barbados. No tax, and he used it to help propel his the American War of Independence in 1766. So Barbados had been a star performer. In other words, we performed so well as a colony with the management of resources, developing Barbados, that we were called the Jews of the Caribbean because
Yes.
of our financial money. So we had a lot to be proud of, and therefore it really is quite disconcerting. I'm saying that because Barbados who are now feeling down about the country, it was not always so. It can be so again with the proper management of the society. Um, and part of the proper management came to the quality of social institution that Barbados had, the civil service, the legislature, etc. I'm not sure where that came from, but we survived it.
Yeah,
So
yes, a bike is passing by me and all my windows are closed, but it's still so loud. I'm sorry about that.
yeah, so so we had it we had a good thing going, so to speak. So much so that was one of the things that we could boast of in Barbados. I used to be very when I go abroad to represent Barbados, I would always find some way of projecting how well we done, how we pay our own way. We never default on us. So therefore, what we did in 2018, where we know still very much, despite all the talk about IMF and uh, deficits and etc., we are still very much in junk bond status. But let
Yes,
me tell you something. Let me tell you something more about Barbados. Barbados did so well that I remember as a boy listening to the BBC,
yes,
right? And now we had my house, we couldn't afford the BBC's really full, so I would go next year at say 7 o'clock and take to hear the news. And I heard on the news that Barbados had successfully floated a loan on the stock exchange for $28 million. It was oversubscribed in less than 15 minutes. This
wow.
is Barbados this stability water harbor in 56. Little Barbados on the industrial scale, because of the quality of our prayer administration and respect and trust they had for our management, we were able to raise $28 million in less than 50 minutes on the London
Wow.
Stock
What
Exchange.
year was that? What year was that?
That was we started the harbor in 56, around 56. We started to
My
build
goodness.
the water harbor in 56. And the
And
deep water
what do
harbor,
you think was the reason for that? Why there was just so much trust in Barbados, respect, confidence in Barbados?
yeah,
Why?
don't forget why, because the performance of the colony. We had very thrifty, sensible, practicable, because they're always dead. They were dealing with the tax. They were the taxpayers at that time mostly, and therefore, and there and therefore they were prepared to spend the money wisely. Now remember, I used to say, and I remember that because that is in direct contrast to what I told used to be said to then Minister Morley in cabinet where we always have to pull her back, and we should be told, warn him about you, Minister Bawley. Um, you're not afraid to spend $3 million when 3,000 we do, especially when you spend other people's money. The whole question that you were careful husbandry management from Grantley Adams, Barr was careful his management, Tom Adams, right down the line until now, we were very careful money managers.
Yes.
And we built the Deepwater Harbor in time, within budget, led largely by local civil servants who manage it on a day-by-day basis. It's probably one of the Barbados' most magnificent performances as a country, and it's still largely intact today.
So
That
Mr. Murray,
project,
you're saying that the reason there was so much confidence in Barbados, in financial confidence, then, in this confidence in the financial stability of Barbados, you had investors who wanted to invest in Barbados, and you believe it was because of the proper management, and the
uh,
careful management of money.
right, at the political level too. The political leadership, the prime minister or premiership of the
Yes.
day were always very careful with the taxpayers' money. Uh, the kind of things we hear about today, the missteps and there were no overruns in the Deepwater Harbor, and that was Barbados' first ever biggest major ever project. No overruns. Imagine that. In
What's the name of the
1956,
project?
the Bridgetown Port, what we call the Deepwater Harbor,
Right, the deep water. So that was one of the first projects that were done, and you're saying there were no overruns and
no
uh,
overruns, none, and it came in within budget and in on time
wow.
for Barbados. It really was a tremendous performance, and and we had, and what is so amazing that the leadership, it was a whole thesis and philosophy on look at life. How do you approach things for the betterment of Barbados, where the country's benefit uh, mattered most, and that was a tradition that we carried on for many years until easily around 2018 or before 2018. I think the management of the economy really started go after 2010 or so. By then, accelerated in 2018, which when we took the reckless step I consider of going into the hands of the IMF. Remember that all previous prime ministers and ministers of finance had refused to go into the IMF, but we went into the IMF. Another thing that Barbados had, apart from the careful management, we had a high degree of what was called social capital. Social
Mm.
capital, social capital, and it was something that refers to. We used to be at one time contrasted with the what was happening in Jamaica in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And there's a very famous economist called, used Guyanese, but spent a lot of time in Jamaica, called Havelock Brewster.
Hmm.
And they said that because of the way and the social capital really consisted of the social relationships that existed between and among people that allowed the society to forward efficiently and effectively and productively. So it's the whole general way of life, how people dealt with each other, how people saw you focus on the main object of the betterment of Barbados, and that is what you had enough in common to make that your common goal and thing. Not that it was always perfect, because if I may give you a story of even the Deepwater Harbor. Now I have a lot of respect for Prime Minister Barrow. I dealt with for many years, and we had an off and on relationship. But he was a tremendous performer. But even then, and he's highly revered as a performer. He did a lot of Barbados, filed for independence, made developer, etc. But even then, I was warning about. I'm saying this to give you like what happens when you talk about where you can allow cheap politics, or the idea when you want to get some support to cast doubts on major projects. Like, for example, the Deepwater Harbor. I heard Mr. Barr say in the election in 1958, when the harbor was being built. This was the federal elections. Because he ran as a candidate, even though he wanted Barbados to go independent alone, he ran for the federal parliament in 58, but did not win a seat. But having lost his seat in St. George in 56, he then went to St. John in 1958 in the by-election. I won it. But he criticized the Water Harbor. saying that if it were to be built,
Mm-hmm.
the sea would come and wash away all the people in the and drown all the people in Fontebelle and Seaside and whatnot. Right? That never happened. But that was just to cast doubts about the viability and the validity of the problem. I mean, he has proved himself wrong. Another example was that he said that if you built the Queen Elizabeth Hospital on the spot where it is now,
Yeah.
it would sink. That was all a long time ago. Marsh and swamp. He said it would swim into sink into the swamp if you built it there. But the Barbados Labour Party was also guilty of some of that cheap politicking. When the DLP brought school meals to Barbados in 1963, I remember well because I was a young reporter, and I would go to the home of then Senator Odessa Giddens, who lived in Government Hill. I interviewed her about the progress of the school meals, where children were to get school meals 10 cents for good meals a day to make sure they had a proper
Yes.
nutrition. Right. Um, some One of the BLP spokespersons criticized it and said he was so opposed that if he got a chance, he would punch all the punch holes in all the pots and pans and other utensils that would be needed to produce the meal. So we can have this back and forth of what they call cheap politicking just to arouse the suspicion of
Mm-hmm.
persons. Uh, Another example would be what happened with the ABC highway. What happened when we want to expand the highway with flyovers, etc.
Yes.
These are things, right? You remember that? I heard
Yes.
when Prime Minister Adams wanted to build the ABC highway. I remember sitting in the House of Assembly and hearing a member of the opposition. I won't call his name to embarrass himself and his family. Said that the ABC highway will be used as a landing spot for private jets to bring gamblers and prostitutes and mafia people and gangsters in Barbados. That was a serious thing on the floor of the house. So I'm saying that we always have to be careful that we that we don't just to get cheap popularity or to oppose for opposing sake because it does not do the country any good.
As you're
Now,
as you're speaking about that, Mr. Murray, I just want to interject here. I mean, I tend to I agree with you on that. There are some of the policies, like for example, I was one of those on the panelists here that I didn't have a problem with the peace program if it was administered the right way, where there were checks and balances, where there were requirements from the guys, from those on the block, when if there was training that's going along with it. I am not against the football. If, as I said on this program, if we could have some accountability, we can use the football in a way where we're not just giving out the money, but the football could become a gun, could be associated with gun amnesty. It could be associated with drug education. It could be associated with so many different things. So my thing is with some of these policies, and I think sometimes people listen, Mr. Murray, and they misunderstand. A lot of what's going on is that a lot of the policies are not properly thought through. They are not, they start and they stop. They try something and then they stop, or they didn't think it all the way through, with some of these policies. But back to what you were saying.
yeah, and you're very right because again that reminded me of the mantra of Prime Minister Oinata, who would always urge us and demand that we look clarity of purpose and certainty of outcome. When you have a project, you seek clarity of purpose. What is the real, clear, definitive um, purpose? What am I trying to achieve? Right? And certainty of outcome. These are always aim for those. But again, like you said, I don't think the football. I think it's just another grandstand. Don't forget David Thompson had tried it when he was prime minister, and then then opposition then opposition member Mr. Morley raised brought a counter tournament. I forgot what it's called, but it didn't last. I don't think it lasted more than a season because it had no grounding. It had no ongoing financing to make it viable and a strong alternative where people could see it as a future prospect of maybe a semi-professionally. It was just a one-off gimmick
Yes.
which could and that, but where the peace program, I thought it was ill considered. I thought it was silly. I don't think it could work because you are mixing legitimate with illegitimate. You are mixing, and I want to give credit for. I've been a very harsh critic of Attorney General Dale Marshall. My understanding is that he opposed it from the very beginning. So
Okay.
much so that because he felt he could not mix the two, have persons of questionable character, people with coming in and mixing and part of his system, his because given the sensitive nature of his department, attorney general, etc., could not afford to have that mixture because of possible contamination of water. That is why, yeah, from my understanding, they have a very strange relationship where Minister Lane, who is charged of Minister of Crime Prevention, he reports, used to, I haven't heard anything contrary, he reports direct to the Prime Minister and not to the Attorney General as you would have thought.
Mm-hmm.
You got me? But
Yes.
apart from that, the peace program saw, has, there was a very strange thing happened in Barbados. Some people don't remember, around COVID. Remember the infamous phone call when people were told to stand down Deacons Road,
Yes.
right? Remember that? But what was also missed around that, I think before that time, there was an incident where a restaurant was open and serving and functioning contrary to the COVID rules and caused a problem. The police had to shut it down, etc. And then a statement was made. Listen very carefully. The Red Sea government, the Red Sea government apologizes to the Myanmar government for that misbehavior. The Red Sea government apologized to Myanmar, to the Mali administration. So I said, you had two administrations, you had two governments.
Yes.
So when you come out institutionally, what you have done, by their statement, it shows that they themselves consider themselves to be an institution, an established institution in Barbados. If therefore you bring them into a legitimate, well-established into like government in a program, it gives them more status.
Yes.
It consolidates them. And the
But
thing
but
the
weren't
thing
they the
about
same ones that were invited from this underground government was
what
invited into Parliament?
so what you're doing is reinforcing and giving credibility and consolidation in you're making them solid block institution. Then we heard about block blockpreneurs and all what we never heard. I've never heard of a serious ongoing disruption of the status quo. Blocks might have started off innocently in the days, but blocks are now gangs. All literature tells blocks are gangs. And if you treat them as equal, you are reinforcing, consolidating them. You are not disrupting them. You're not disrupting their operations, any business they do. You are only letting them settle and become more and more, and no longer then do we see themselves equal partners to government. We have a Red Sea government and the Myanmar administration government. So I think we have made some mistakes, and until all over the world, I know when serious efforts are made to uh, tackle crime. Remember, I said crime is the best organized business in the world.
Yes.
It really is, and therefore, business, as you know, business persons like certainty and predictability. They don't like to be disturbed. But all other places they've had, even in the Caribbean, where pressure is put on the blocks, the gangs, or whatever you want to call them, in their operation. But when they're out there operating on their own as a separate entity, all you're doing is you're making it more and more difficult to dislodge or disrupt them, to minimize them, to reduce their effectiveness and their activities. So I think we veered off a bit into other areas, but I think we have made some mistakes in that area. We have to do something. We have
Yes.
to do something to try to pull it back. All right. Um, So Barbados can I still get back to its former glory, but it has to be done. It has to have a leadership that see it as necessity. I think this. I think I spent 9 years around a cabinet table with Minister Motley, and I saw I saw her at her best moments, and I saw her at her worst moments. And one of these times, I will tell you about the worst moments. The worst moment. That's a different story. But I thought at times she was mostly a good minister. But subsequent, I never saw leadership and prime ministership as I saw under Premier as Grady Adams and Tom Adams and Al Barra, etc. Going after. And subsequent events have shown you, have proven me right. Because there's nothing that has happened so far that elevates Miss Morton like that. Despite all that's happened internationally, that's all well and good. It reminds him in the 1970s and 80s, Michael Malley. Remember Michael Malley? Michael
Yes.
Malley spent Michael Malley's in the same way that Prime Minister Malley spends time going around the world projecting and talking and promoting um, climate change and an equitable relationship between the financial institution, the developing world, etc. Michael Malley did the same thing where he was promoting uh, the new international, we call it the same thing virtually, the new international economic order.
Mm.
And he spent a lot of time uh, traveling the world, in the third world, the developed world, going to the third world, the same as Marty goals and and upbraids and criticizing and chastising the developed world in their own face, their own, as to how they should be spending their own money. He was doing the same thing. Meantime, what Jamaica was declining. Jamaica was not only that, he Prime Minister Mali alienated the business class and the investor class in the countries from which they wanted investment, and that is why the investments were withdrawn, and Jamaica suffered serious economic decline from which it is still recovering. So I'm saying all politics is local, and your international reputation, all the traveling and speaking that um, Michael Mine did not stop him from losing the election when the time came to be accountable to the Jamaican public, because the Jamaicans were not seeing the benefits of such adventures abroad. Lots of publicity and talk, awards, honors. But in the final analysis, how are we in Barbados better off? What is it doing for us as a country? That is the test of all governments, Make life better for people. If you can, you ask, what is in it for me, my family, and my country? And if you can't answer that, you fail the real test
Correct.
and objective of a government,
Yes, yes.
right?
Yeah, a very deep analysis, Mr. Murray. I tell you, I'm still at how you spoke about that government within a government, the Red Sea government,
Yeah, yeah.
apologizing to the BLP government. That's very deep, as someone here said.
Yeah.
Kamar says that is a deep and that is deep and disturbing, Mr. Murray. A Red Sea illegal government that was invited to Parliament, and that they were apologizing as the Red Sea government. And you're correct; it was in the newspaper, to the Barbados government. That is because it's a serious legitimacy that was given to that. But Mr. Murray, I want to thank you so
Oh,
much, and let you say your
before
final thoughts.
yeah, can I have just one last second to mention? I missed it again. Up till just to let parts, we now have members of parliament MP, but up to 1961, when we got full internal self government, MPs used to be called MCPs, member of colonial parliament.
Mm,
MCPs, and that dropped when we became fully internal self government in 1961. And in addition, when we first got ministerial government, ministers would make about $600 a month. That was a lot of money, because when I started work, I remember it well. I started work as a long grade clerk, $126 a month, so $600 was a monumental sum for me. And there used to be a rapper, and there used to be a, since then there was used to be confusion on how much you should reward. And most of the parliamentarians up to that time had been businessmen who paid themselves. They were not paid they were not paid a regular salary like they do now. I remember, and there was dispute over payment, etc. Remember, Prime Minister Adams had a study done,
Yes.
see how they were, and it was recommended that it was actually remembered that people would only be paid when they attended Parliament. And that was thought to be a nonsense. And what the Prime Minister Adams did was said, whatever salary raise the public servants got, because he saw people working as public servant, working really for the public also. The same pay increase that went to the public servant will be given to parliamentarians, and that is what brought the system under control and took it over this dispute for a long time.
Wow. I didn't even know that. You're always coming with this history lesson here, And Mr. Murray's book, I was telling him about his book today. Miss McLean is here. I was talking about his book, and it's such a wonderful book. I love culture and I love history. And when Mr. Murray, between his book and when he comes on, you're always learning something. And I just want to, I learned a lot about Manly tonight. I didn't realize the similarities in some of what Miss Motley is doing. So it's really, it was really, you said it's a civic lesson, but it's also a history lesson. So thank you, Mr. Murray. Thank you so very
You're
much.
welcome. Thank
Yes.
you.
Well, I am seeing Miss McLean is on, and I'm also seeing Shaquani on. I know Miss McLean is still, she's here, but I want to, Miss McLean, you are talking tonight about, as we discussed today, how things have changed in Barbados. You are concerned about the downward spiraling of Barbados, whether it is in our spirituality, it's in culture, it's in the education system, it's just in the arts. However you look at it, right? It's all of these different areas. And I said, you know what? Let me bring Shaquan in here for a couple of minutes, and just before you begin, because yesterday, Miss McLean, you would have been so proud of this young lady. I know that you mentor her, and you would have been smiling ear to ear. I am still smiling because there is hope for Barbados. There's
Well,
hope for Barbados.
certainly.
Yes.
In fact, Marcy, I must tell you, I haven't listened to the program from the beginning this evening. I said that while that was the topic, I will have to approach it from a different angle. I mean, I must admit, I am tough sometimes, but things that make me happy also make me cry. When I listen to those two young men, those two boys, I don't even call them young men, they're two little boys. 12, he made sure to tell you he was 12, 11 and 12. And to hear Shaquani talk about how their man up, so to speak, how they were there, and and it made me think of the while those are my concerns, the upside of it, so to speak, the positive things. And then when I listened to Ferdinand, and I heard a bit of him this morning talking about problems in the schools. But so I will speak to that, but I will come from a different angle. So what you're saying, you have Shaquani here. I don't know if you wanted her to say something before I went down the road, so to speak.
Yeah.
Marcia,
But
yeah.
yes, yes, yes. So sorry about that. But I too wanted to shed a tear from yesterday. I have been smiling like this. I don't know what I'm. The only thing I'm going on right now is hope, because I should be sleeping in my bed, because I was there with Chakwani from 10 o'clock. We did not get home until 10 o'clock last night. That's the truth. When we got in last night, we realized it was 10. I mean, we did stop somewhere after we left there. But Shakwani, can you tell us quickly how many bottles of how much water were you able to distribute yesterday?
So yesterday we distributed over 100 cases of water, close to 150 cases, and the gallon bottles was roughly the same amount. So roughly in total, 300 cases of
Wow,
water went
of
out.
water between the gallon bottles and the cases.
Yeah.
And with this, of course, you want to thank those that donated, right?
I want to thank everybody who donated, and please keep donating. If you were out there, you would understand why we're saying please keep donating. People were so grateful and thankful because when we were actually out there distributing, people were coming out with their buckets looking for the water truck because they didn't have clean water since the previous night. So some people say they called the truck multiple times to remind them that they need to come out. They don't have water. And outside was so hot yesterday. It was extremely, extremely hot.
Yes. That's Shaquani there, slugging the thing over her shoulder. She was wet.
Building muscle.
You see her shirt when she was finished. And this is a type of work that I personally respect, Miss McLean. I am a worker and I respect it. She's not out there and thinking her fingernails too long to lift thing and she can't do this and her hairstyle and so on. My girl slugged the thing over her shoulders and she and those little boys, as we were saying earlier. But I wanted to talk about this young lady tonight and the young Dems,
Mhm.
and the work that they put in yesterday in putting this thing all together, and to say there is hope in Barbados. And I wanted her to come in at the beginning of your segment. She's going to stay with us tonight because we're going to be talking about Vybz Kartel, etc., which connects Miss McLean to what you are talking about. So we have this continuous thing tonight. But I want her to stay there, and we're going to have a discussion after Miss McLean is finished. All of us on Vybz Kartel. It's being announced that he will be in Barbados performing in January, and to look at some of the pros and cons of that. Well, over to Miss McLean.
Well, thank you very much. And while I'm going to make a couple introductory comments, I will ask Dave if he can put up that, since we are talking water, I would want him to put up a short clip that I sent to him just now. And the reason why was that you were in St. Lucie yesterday, and I happened to be in St. Lucie today. And I want to say congratulations to the alumni, the staff, the current students of this Florence Springer Memorial School. And I say that because it is celebrating its 60th anniversary, and a very good friend of mine, along with many of our colleagues, were here celebrating, and she invited me along, and we happened to have gone on what was supposed to be a tour of parts of the island. And it so happened that we ran into the consequences of the heavy rains in St. Lucie. And this was, I don't know if Dave can show it, but it was a small video that was taken. This is River Bay, and I have never seen this before. I knew the name of it. And what you're seeing here from the you see on the left, that's the cliff. But what we are seeing is a literal river running into the sea. Okay, now you can see it. Now this is rainwater. And my concern is that this is almost ironic. You know, you say water, water everywhere, not a drop to drink. One of my concerns, and Barbadians talk about it, how do we capture this water before it runs off into the sea? It is something that we really have to think about. And so when I looked at this and I looked at the hard work, because the interesting thing was to see where this river of water flowing into, how when it met the ocean. Now I have absolutely no idea of estimating how much water there was, but the question is, how do we address a growing problem in Barbados, and that is shortage of good quality water, and how do we manage the consequences of rainfall and so on. So I just thought, when I saw that, I had to go to my phone and send it. But the other thing, Marcia, as I listen, and as you mentioned, my concern is that when I look around and see a lot of what is happening, there seems to be a general decline in a lot of things. But it's almost difficult for me to talk about that now in the way that I wanted to,
That's
because
okay.
I was so inspired by these young men, and I thought, you know what are we do? I'm going to focus a little bit on what I see to be some deviations from what is probably the best opportunities when it comes to education of our children, because those young men, I don't remember the name, but you highlighted um, three young boys,
Joshua,
uh,
Caleb, and Delano.
Joshua, Caleb, and Delano.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
those are excellent examples of how we want to see our children grow, and the level, and I think Glenn mentioned civic responsibility and understanding civics in action. And the question is, if we are to produce more young men like these, I believe this is the young man from Crab Hill who goes to Ellerslie in this picture.
Delano, yes.
If we are to produce more, because I'm looking at the three of them, and I'm thinking, when I heard, I don't remember, I think it might have been Joshua or Caleb, one of the two would have been on speaking, when he talked about, as a first farmer, that's the 11-year-old, as a first farmer, the violence that he has had to witness, however, little and so on, at school. The question is, why are those children engaging in dysfunctional behavior? Why are they exhibiting, aggressive behavior, etc.? And it made me reflect on what I'm hearing from the ministry. So I'm going to spend a minute to touch on something, because
Mm-hmm.
as I listened, I realized that there are some answers if we park some of our partisan political approaches, because I wanted to talk about community action, but I'll come back there. But all we heard this morning, I certainly heard Pastor Nichols was on Brass Tacks, and they were talking about violence, but people seem to forget that, or fail to appreciate that we have had institutions set up to deal with such antisocial or bad behavior, to get at the root of some problems. I don't know, Marcia, if you recall an institution called the New Horizons Academy, but this was a school that was set up in 2015, and it was designed to support the work of the Alma Parish School and the Edna Nichols Center. And so I am looking at the three of these as institutions which right now, unless somebody could show me otherwise, are languishing in a way that they ought not to be. In fact, and I'll explain why. My understanding and observation of this thing over the years is that the Edna Nichols Center had been used as an out-of-school suspension or detention, so I would say suspension approach, where children who have been exhibiting certain behaviors are sent there to reflect on their behavior in a way that, in other words, these are not necessarily deep-seated problems that children have, but that they can be addressed if they are separated from their regular classmates and so on for a while, to stop and think with the assistance of professionals on how they have been behaving, why, and how they can address that. The Alma Parish School, on the other hand, would have been one in which you were looking to essentially give young children an opportunity to basically again address some of these challenges. But then we have a situation where our within our youth population, our school population, primary and secondary schools, some children who have been exhibiting some very deep-seated problems. And so in 2015, a facility was opened where a decision was taken to bring together highly trained professionals, counselors, and behavioral specialists, people in behavior modification, etc. And they were there in small numbers, because you can't tackle that kind of problem by having a class of 30 or something. So I think it catered to about 100 children or less.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea was that you were really going to explain in a very professional, very comprehensive way, um, these behavioral problems. Now, if that is happening, let's take, for example, a couple of the incidents that we had recently. I think one was at the Alexandra School, where parents and teachers and even children were fearful about engaging a student who had been transferred. Now,
Yes.
I don't know the details, but I can hazard a guess that that student himself or herself, I think it may be a male, I'm not sure, it doesn't matter. The child is probably a victim
Mm.
of very negative situation. I don't know the details, but I can tell you from my experience of colleagues and so on going to the girls' industrial school, as it was called, that when you started to engage some of those children, the horror stories they told you about their life experiences, even as minors, um,
Yes.
would suggest that there's significant support. So when I talk about decline, I see, and I can focus on that by sector by sector. When I think of education, think of a child who, if given the opportunity to be exposed to the support that that New Horizon School would have offered to primary up through secondary school children,
Yes.
that if they were able to be diagnosed and assisted to become like these young men, Caleb and so on, you know, and it really, because as I was thinking of other things about, the adults, the way we behave and whatever and so on, but when I listened to the discussion this evening, I just said to myself, how do we stop what I would call, how do we, you know, kind of bring some end to this, what I see, this decline in our, or this neglect of children? Because I
Yes.
believe that if a child is going through a school system that does not offer him or her support where problems manifest themselves, we are neglecting that. We are
Yes.
contributing to the decline, because a child who comes to school molested or physically abused or neglected by a parent who says, look, you're only my stepchild, I can't feed you, or my money is not supposed to go to feed you, it's to feed your brother who is my child, and you're your mother's child, let her and your father deal with that, or whatever. I mean, a child is not responsible for his or her environment. But if we as a society do not understand how behaviors outside of that child damage that child, and then we do nothing, or we simply seek to isolate them or to punish them, they become victims twice. And that's part of the decline that I am concerned about. And so I really would like to understand what has happened. Why are we, because I thought about this, because as I talked about declining behaviors, and I mean, I went to church this morning, and one of the things that the priest has promised to do, because she was only serving temporarily at the church, but she said,
Yes.
on my last service, we are going to have we are going to do a friendship service. We are going out in the community during the week, Saturday for example, and invite the people in the community to come to church, come and
Mm-hmm.
see and talk to us. They're going to bring the children from St. Stephen's School back to the church, one day,
Yes.
every 2 weeks in the month or whatever. My concern really is that when we start to talk about decline, how are we contributing to that decline? And I mean, we can do it sector by sector issue, but I felt that I really had to focus on the children when I listened to those two young men, articulate, serious, appreciative of what is happening around them, knowledgeable about issues, because people have taken the time to engage them. I mean, I really, as I said, I've really felt so good, Marcia. And I must tell you, because from what I'm hearing, I think I've heard their voices before, I've seen them before. And I have to talk to Mr. Weeks in the background, who obviously has a major hand in shaping these boys into fine young men. And so
Yes.
for me, I call on, and as I did say to you, I was going to talk about community and so on, but I'm calling on the communities to recognize that they also have to call on government. And I single this out because I know, having sat in the cabinet where this decision was taken, and I remember the minister having to present and respond to many questions about the New Horizons Academy. I remember it was what was it, the University of, I wrote it down so I don't forget. Um, I think it was University of Georgia, University out of Georgia, though. Let me see. I wrote it here somewhere. Where these people would have been Georgia State University. They came to Barbados to do training,
Yeah.
and I'm saying there are teachers out there, because I am from what I've been able to glean in my research. The school, the New Horizons Academy is still there, but most of the teachers have been taken. Some people might have gone into other agencies or outside of the teaching service. I'm not sure.
Mm-hmm.
But the facility is there. It is where the Erdeston Primary School used to be. It was renovated. It was equipped. You had, as I said, a cadre of highly trained professionals within the teaching system.
Yes.
And I am saying that if we sit down as part of this educational reform and say, how do we strengthen the existing arrangements in a way that there is cohesion, that we can seamlessly address the needs of challenged children. When I say challenge, I'm talking about people who may be emotionally damaged, but who
Yes.
are brilliant, or children who may be challenged and maybe a little slower than others, and might have been bullied at school and so on. But in other words, there are children in serious need of psychosocial support, that has those children that has to be taken care of. Those children have to be taken care of, and failure to do that on the guise of this system started under somebody else or some other political regime, and we are going to ignore that and behave as though we are now trying to diagnose a problem from the beginning, when in fact we
Exactly.
have three institutions which should be working together, given the kind of mandate that they have to
Miss
really help
McLean,
our
can you
children.
go over those three institutions? Because it's very interesting what you're saying, that there were things in place.
Yes.
It's I'm listening, and I'm hearing Mr. Murray's presentation as well. So there were things in place under various governments that could be used in a combined way. Can we list
Right.
them again? I think that
Well,
that
we have the Edna Nichols Center, and as I
yes.
said, my understanding about the Edna Nichols Center, and I wrote it down because you know me. It was a program of out of school suspension. I think the children would get maybe 5-10 days at the
Mm-hmm.
center. And there, I think, as I said, it was where you might have seen some children starting to exhibit some behaviors, being disruptive at school, etc. And let's say that a child goes there and
Yes.
he or she is found to be perhaps that there are deeper issues,
Yes.
then that child can be recommended then to, let's say, the New Horizons Academy, because that child could then be given the level of counseling. Now I remember that a lot of people might have, if as I said, might not have done this, but the other thing to look at in that is that you want to provide a child who has, let's say, a severe behavioral problem. This is a small society. You want, like, take the child who would have had the problem at the beginning of the school year in the north. That child may have serious problems. If addressed, would allow him to get back into the system, or if not, given the nature, I don't know. Let me not speak about him. Let me speak of a child who may have those kind of problems. If given the level of support at a level of privacy, where that child can have his or her problems tackled, shown, working with parents, etc., then that child can and they continue. The thing about it at the academy, they continue to pursue their academic curriculum as best they can. So it's not
Wow.
you're not going to be parked there and so on. So in other words, it's an effort, and think about it. We have just been forced through COVID to introduce online teaching. So
Mhm.
it is also probably easier now for a child like that to perhaps follow some online courses, specially designed, and
Right.
capture
So,
it
so,
where
so
we
Miss McLean, because we have I see kids out there
hmm
waiting. We're gonna all discuss. So when he comes in, we're gonna do this all
hmm
together. But we're gonna discuss about Vybz Kartel coming
hmm
in January, because I think it ties in very nicely with what we're talking about tonight. So you're saying that there was the Edna Nichols Center, the
there
New
was
Horizon Academy. What's the third
the
one?
third one before the New Horizons is the what you call it again? I'll just the Alma Paris School,
Okay,
Alma
the Alma
Paris
Palace
Memorial
School.
School. Yes,
Okay, so
and
those are those three that you're saying
yes,
that they already existed, and I see
yeah,
Chakwani taking notes there, because I think it is so important that we understand, as Mr. Murray was saying earlier, that we do not throw out the old because we come in to a new party is in power, that we and regardless of the party, that we need to put the country first and build
yes.
on it, because these seem like three
Actually,
wonderful programs.
there's
I know
one
Mr.
last thing. There's
Yes,
one
go
last
ahead.
thing I wanted to share because I in looking at this, I saw two references. One was for the chief education officer and a comment made by former Minister of Education Santia Bradshaw in November 2021. There was a proposal next to an image of of Santia Bradshaw, Deputy Prime Minister, former Minister of Education, and it was an Instagram story, and it indicated, and I quote, more than $2 million to reopen the Alma Paris Memorial School. In addition, the New Horizon Academy is to become Barbados's newest secondary school. Now, I have a concern, and this is where the concern comes. You have a system where these schools can be could be utilized, working with each other, in tandem,
Yeah.
address thing, but you're going to take out one which was catering to the children with the greatest need in terms of the seriousness of their problem, and say that you're going to create the newest secondary school. 2021, we're into 2024. I don't know if it was ever, or I don't know. So the question I would ask is, where are we now? But I'm just saying that it is more than adding safety officers to offer psychosocial support. It is to use the institutions we have to address the varying levels of challenge that some of our children have, if we are to ensure that they can become maximally functional as young adults and so on going forward.
Yes, excellent, excellent. I know that I'm going to, I would love to be able to look at these institutions, because I honestly didn't, the way you put them together. I've always heard Edna Nichols. I heard of them, but I didn't put it together. When you put it all down on paper, you realize that, boy, we've had the answer all along there. You
Maybe the
know,
education ministry needs to think like I do.
Wow. Mr. Murray, your mic is on. Just take a minute, Mr. Murray,
Yes,
and I know you have a comment before we move
yeah.
on.
First of all, I think what Maxine was complaining about the represent the muddled thinking of the government. Remember, he's talking about clarity of purpose and certainty of outcome. You're getting
Yes.
a hodgepodge all over the place, especially with education. But the other point I want to make is the involvement of those two youngsters today who did perform creditably in every possible way it seems could not, I believe, only have been possible with the agreement and support of the household, the mother, their father, their grandmother, some of that. So I think that's where we have to start. They can only have done that. They can only have become who they are through their involvement. And I think the first thing we have to do about education is restore the high regard for education that we once had. Maxine and I, we grew up in the society at a time where the only way out of poverty was education. Everybody knew that. You
Mhm.
didn't want to go and pick points. You have to go back to that where education matters from the home, from the womb, from the cradle, and the parents are part of the appreciation. Right now, a generation has gone where there's no appreciation for education, so you leave school, you could go on the block and make a living. So what?
Yes. Wow. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Murray. Everything is all working together tonight. I tell you, all the presentations, and I think it's really wonderful. And I'm seeing here we've had two persons joining us tonight, and this is one of my favorite people in the world, and he knows this is the truth. Kid Sight. And so I've always talked about him. He's the only Calypsonian who's able to win the crown three times, 3 consecutive years. None of the others. No Gabby, no red plastic bag, no. That this man has been able to win the crown, and a lot of people don't know that because they somehow, for whatever the reason is, we don't want to give him the flowers. But anytime that I'm around him, I give him the flowers because that is some feat to be able to win it in three consecutive years. This is a man that is able to do it. Go
I
ahead,
had
Mr.
my mic off, Marcy, and I have to say what I say. He's a good Black Rock man. He grew up on the street I grew up on. How you doing?
I'm fine.
I hope we can hear you
You can hear
tonight.
me?
I hope. Good night. Let me see if I can hear him. We want to hear you tonight. Let's see if we can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes, we're hearing
Yes,
you.
yes.
Okay. Miss McLean made some very valid points there, though. I'm sorry she had to break off because these institutions and facilities got to be put back in place, and especially in the current conditions that Barbados is going through right now. So, there's a very crucial thing that she point she made there. But good night to everyone. And what is the I just got to get back to Marcia on the what are we really talking about here in respect of me? Because I have a lot of things to say, but I think you had a topic to address.
Yes, we have a topic to
Mm-hmm.
address, and
Mm-hmm.
I hope that you'll be able to come back sometime after because we all get so busy to talk about some of the other topics I know that you have on your mind. But I saw
Yes,
someone sent me this, been sending me this gentleman Abraham Millington. I hope he can join tonight.
yes, I know
Abraham,
him well. That's my friend,
that's your friend.
my
Okay,
good
interesting.
friend.
Okay, I hope if Abraham is listening, I did send him the link. But Abraham, he is in the diaspora and he has been very concerned because he saw that there was talk about Vybz Kartel coming to Barbados, and he, apart
Mhm.
from being, he was a policeman, he was also in the arts as a musician, and so he said to me, Marcia, we really need to look at this and to have a frank discussion about it. Look at it from all sides, to examine what is the benefit, what is the cost benefit. And I was talking to Mr. Murray today, and he brought back my accounting term to me, Miss McLean, my cost accounting term. What is the cost benefit of Vybz Kartel coming to Barbados? And I thought to myself, we really need to discuss it, but we can't discuss this. Not I need Kid Sight on or somebody from Sean from Baka, and I need some young people on. So my go-to, I have Janine Butcher on, one of my favorite people in the world. She's on. Her mic is off because she's also studying for her exam. And we have Shaquani Hunt, again, another of my favorite people on. And I thought we need to do this as a family. Mr. Murray is 18. Mr. Murray is 18 and Miss McLean is only 17, right? So it's good to have it's good to have this family of people discuss this issue. And I want to hear from the audience about their thoughts about Vybz Kartel. So let me just read this little excerpt here before Kidside jump in, okay? And it says here, I believe this is Barbados Today. Yes. It says Vybz Kartel confirmed for Barbados in April. Before I had seen January, but I'm seeing here April. And it's liked by over 2,461 persons. It is shared by 2,380. Chakwani, when was this? When was this post made, Chakwani? Can you tell me?
Let me just go back and check because I saw it popped up on my timeline today.
Check it for me, please, and let me know what time.
I'm checking right now.
Right. So we
That
want to
was
examine this.
posted 9 hours ago.
9 hours ago, this was posted, okay? 9 hours ago. So listen, folks, 2,406 likes, and it has been shared 2,380 times, and there have been 159 comments already on this post. And it says, anticipation is at an all-time high as a DJ Vybz Kartel Palmer's first appearance in Barbados since his release from prison has been confirmed for 2025. Okay, so that is written badly. It is that they're going to, this is not written well at all. April 2025. The Gaza Nation prayers have been answered with the popular dancehall artist set to perform on the island. This revelation was made during a launch hosted by the Zulu Entertainment at Lime Grove Penthouse Friday night, including a personal video message from the performer. Preceding the announcement of Carter's performance, Chief Operations Officer of Zulu Entertainment, Simon Chow, provided another exciting update, revealing that the Caribbean Music Festival will be returning to Farley Hill National Park on April 27th for its second edition. And it goes on. So I suspect this Simon Chow, somebody needs to look up for me. Is this, I want to know, is this, if he's a Chinese, if he's or just has what is his, his nationality? Because the reason I'm asking, in Jamaica, you do have a lot of, Chinese persons involved in reggae and so on. So I'm just curious. I just want somebody to check that out for me. Who is Samuel Chow? From the Zulu Entertainment. He's a Chief Operations Officer. Mr. Kidside.
Yes, please.
Kidside, you hear something like this. You're an entertainer here in Barbados, par excellence, and you are here and you hear something of like this that is happening. What would you say is the upside of or the benefit of Vybz Kartel coming to Barbados? How does that affect the other artists? How does it benefit them?
There's no benefit really, but you have to understand the circumstances. Vybz Kartel was released from prison, I think around July, and since he has been released, he has been in demand from every Caribbean island all over the world. Have been getting into line to book him. Everybody's looking to book him because he's now released from prison. He was making some recordings while in prison also. He's probably the leading reggae artist right now in the world right now. And Barbados now has got the I can't say distinction, but they have they have attained him for the upcoming reggae festival that they have at the end of April this year. There's no upside for the artists, local artists. There's no upside even for the public, just for entertainment sake, for the public to hear him. But there's no upside for the Barbados cultural landscape really, because we have not developed our own artists to that level, or even anything close to that level. And and the disturbing thing about this is that we already have an existing subculture where the two themes that they've been pushed from the subculture in Barbados is violence and sex. That's the bashment. Coming over crop over, the topics are generally themed around sex, and the other songs that are being released during the year, the reggae artists come out are usually tune around violence, and that subculture is very disturbing. We have not done anything to try to transform the subculture. This is something that I am now in the process of engaging with a government entity to bring something, a forum in place where the conscious artists in Barbados and the gospel and spiritual artists in Barbados and the other artists can get a chance to express themselves in a forum and create a counteraction to the
Mhm.
culture coming out of Jamaica. This is what we are looking to do. We need, it reminded me of a situation a couple of years ago where Sizzler was going to perform in Trinidad. About a decade ago, and the Trinidad government told Sizzler, we don't want you here. We need to develop our own reggae artists. That's what the Trinidad government said. So Barbados cannot just sit back and let these cultures and the violent, some of the cultures have violent aspects of them penetrate and control your own culture. So we have to fight back, and that's what I'm working to do now to fight back. But
Yes.
yeah, so but there's nothing you can really say about Vybz Kartel is the leading reggae artist in the world, and they're gonna want to hear him. That's the honest truth. The
But
young people gonna want to hear him.
as a seasoned artist, you are saying that there is no upside for the culture for artists in Barbados. You don't see it because I mean, he's going to be paid a whole set of money that you guys can only dream of getting that kind of money,
Or
right?
I think near a quarter to half million US or something like that.
US.
The, yeah,
Yeah, it will be
the amount
US.
that these guys come to perform are astronomical prices that they come to perform.
Now we have to
Believe it.
bear in mind, and listen, I'm Jamaican born, so I'm gonna assert that tonight here. And also I love reggae music. I love music. I'm one of those people that I'm gonna say it here. I love bashment. I don't like the right Shakwani must say Auntie Marcia love bashment. Yes, I love bashment. I just don't like the lyrics that are associated, but I love the beat, I love music, I love art, I love all of it. I love calypso. I'm not going to hide it. I love all of that. But what I'm saying is, I thought this was worthy of discussion, and I'm not bashing Jamaica. I'm saying that, but what I'm saying is that we can all agree that a lot of what is coming out of Jamaica is not the best for our society. The music is not the best to our culture, and you're saying you don't see any upside. Let me go to Shakwani. I'm not seeing Janine anymore. I think she dropped out. Shakwani, again, I want to look. We're looking at the cost benefit analysis of Vybz Kartel coming to Barbados. Okay, Janine is back. After you, I'll go to Janine because I want to get the young people in. Shakwani, you think of a show that like this, the tickets, I know the tickets in Jamaica is just astronomical, just out of people reach. Because if you're going to pay
Yeah.
him, say 500,000, half a million US, that's like a million Barbados, if that's what it is, but that's roundabout what he gets. Um, you know,
Correct.
is going to be the price of those tickets in an economy like what we have what we're living in at the moment. What do you think is how is this going to affect young people? Let me ask Shakwani that because you're the spokesperson on youth for the TLP. Let me hear you on that. What do you think is the benefit to the youth in Barbados?
Well, it's going to be no benefit. There's no benefit, nothing to gain. They're not going to get money technically from the event itself. And if you're an artist, you're going to be paid to perform, but not at the same price range. But something I want to remind people of, I don't know if people remember 2021 when Lil Ray and some other artists brought out the Trojan Rhythm and the outrage that it had, and the prime minister had asked them to apologize to Barbados about the Tune, and it was probably like maybe 10, maybe a little bit more artists. I could be wrong, but somebody can correct me in the comments. But Bajans know what I'm talking about because I remember when this came out, this was a big issue. And one of the things that one of the artists said when being interviewed about the process, they said they bring artists from all over the world that sing about guns and they don't ban them when they perform here. But when Bajan artists are trying to step to that level and sing about what people overseas and in Barbados want to hear, they're being penalized, saying that they're encouraging gun violence. So for me, I think it's a double standard because when we are penalizing our own artists for producing music like this and asking them to apologize, we should not be bringing in or entertaining the thought of bringing in artists and paying so much money where we're not promoting our own artists in that same manner because it's like a double standard. So if you're going to say our artists should not be performing that type of music and you wanted them to apologize to the country, why will you now allow a person, everybody knows what type of music he sings. Why would you allow a person that sings that type of music to come into the country and perform at a national level when you were just only a few years ago pulling down our Bajan artists for making music like that, saying that they're encouraging rowdiness and our ruliness and gun violence in the youth of Barbados?
Yeah. Very, very well said because I remembered that as well. And I was doing a lot of soul searching and a lot of thinking before I decided to do the show because I run the risk of people, telling me off and saying, but it's your country. You know how you have some Bajans who love to do. But I'm gonna be I have to look at it for what it is. And regardless of the fact that these are people from where I was, where I originated from, the truth is the truth that I just cannot see, like you, Shakwani, how is it going to really benefit the youth at this time, especially with what we're seeing in Barbados. There is some economic benefit to some people, we must admit that, which I'm hoping that we will be able to break that down. And Ms. McLean might be able to help us to do that, to look at how it is going to affect, economically benefit certain sectors and so on. But we're talking about our youth on a whole. How are they going to benefit? Let me go to let me go to Janine. Good night, Janine. How are you doing?
Hi, good night to Loyal Opposition. I'm doing fine. How are you, Marcia?
I am well. I know you must be tired. You were slugging water yesterday with Shakwani. There in Content and Crab Hill, my first time in those places, and it was wonderful to see all of us out there sweating bullets. And then I saw you on top of the truck today handing out food. I said, this girl have so much energy. I want to commend you on this. But we're talking here about Vybz Kartel being in Barbados, and I know you and I had some chat. We chatted about this about a week ago, and I want to ask you, what do you see might be benefits of um, Vice Cartel coming to Barbados at this time?
Well, as Shaquani and Kisai were saying earlier, it is not a
Can you speak
benefit
up a
supposed.
little bit? Speak up a little bit. I don't know if your mic. Yeah, speak up a little. Thank you.
I'm sorry, can you guys hear me now?
Oh yes, we're hearing your nice strong voice. Keep going.
Okay, okay, great. All right, so I was stating that as Shaquani and Kisai was stating, there is no benefit to him coming. It's just for enjoyment of young people or persons to be able to have a good time. But as Shakwani stated as well in regards to the Prime Minister's statements that she would have made at the time, and I also would have took time to go back to that. It was actually 8 artists. And at that time, I will quote what Wilfred Abrams would have said at that time. He would have said, this government does not promote or support gun violence or retribution killings against anybody. The position of this government cannot and will not be to support any artist who is involved in promoting gun violence. There is a place for artistic expression, but then there is a time that crosses over into irresponsibility. So, are we going to see a case now where Vybz Kartel will be treated like how he was in St. Vincent, or would that change based on these previous comments in 2021?
Yeah, profound comment there. But let me, you know what? I mean, I know that there are, yes, it is true that a lot of what Vice Cartel pushes out, it has a lot of gun violence and a lot of sex, in there, and a degrading of women in the music. But he also has some conscious lyrics with somebody, conscious music. But what bothered me, Shaquani, and I mean Janine, in particular, is that the song that Vybz Kartel just recorded a couple weeks ago, since he came out of prison, was a song, Kid Side. I don't know if you've heard it. It's called Comet, and I follow him. I literally follow him. I go and I read up about him. I see what he's doing. So I feel like, somebody who researches him, that I can make a comment about him. I'm not speaking about something that I don't know. So his latest song is called Comet, and it is a song that is, just so filled with sex and the way and degrading of women, and he's talking in there, and I'm hoping that this is not I'm sure at 9 o'clock children are gone to bed, but he's talking about having sex with people's mothers, that I mean, it's nasty. It's nasty. Something with a song with a name as Comet. You would think that is something that is elevating, right? And saying, Kitside, you can use that metaphor, use that as something that is inspiring. But now you brought it down into the mud, and that is what you are pushing. Now the truth is that it's not a song. It doesn't have anything about guns in it. But I was, for his age too. I was I'm having young men, as he had Gen Zs, people in their 20s, sons just come out of prison. I'm wondering, where's the reform? What is he coming? What's the message is he coming to Barbados with? I went chatting Janine, and forget I'm asking you a question. Sorry, but I'm so passionate about it. But Janine, what do you say about his repertoire? Could it be that he might be singing? What if he comes and he sings some of the conscious lyrics as well?
I guess he would. However, the reality is that majority of young people like the songs that go towards the gun violence, or as you was all mentioning, the song about Comet. That song, when you were asking what the message that he sings now when he's out of prison, but in that song as well, he's also saying all in the prison he was making millions. So it isn't like he's encouraging persons not to go to prison, because even in prison he was having a great time. So I think that the message thing is a very hard thing to really answer, because the reality is a lot of persons are going to go to this show. And I think that it comes down to what we really want our children to learn, and what we want them to accept within the community that is going forward in this kind of structure. But he will sing some of the conscious music, yes, but the reality is more majority of these songs make people hype. And you see the trajectory even when it's in a party. Persons even begin to fight when certain songs come on.
Oh wow! So you're saying when certain songs are played, that people are fighting, your fights might break out.
Yeah, that happens.
That happens. That happens when these songs are negative. You see, sexual content and violence go hand in hand. It kind of sounds weird, right? But it's been proven that whenever you go in down the vulgar line, it can evoke violence also. The two of them go together. But let us be holistic about this entire thing. Economically, it will bring a lot of people to the show. People will fly in to go to the show. It will benefit, I suppose, it will benefit the Barbados, all these people coming in. But artistically and socially, it really is not is nothing beneficial really. That's the reality. But it will have a lot of people. People will fly in, and the shows will be very successful. But to the artists, local artists, it will be nothing beneficial, and socially, it will be nothing beneficial because the songs are really too negative sometimes. They're nothing positive.
Yes, yes. Someone here is saying that Sharon Ford is saying that recently Grenadans recently were outraged at a Trinidadian artist scheduled to perform there with negative music. And said they think the show was actually cancelled. Interesting, Mr. Murray.
Marcia?
Let me hear your thoughts, please.
Yeah. First of all, um, my major concern, uh, and it has been a later, I understand the government of Barbados has not put any money so far into the show. So it's supposed to be a private venture. And I understand his fee is 750,000 Barbados dollars, which we'll have to pay in US dollars, right? You pay in US dollars. I think Kids Side would support me this way for very many years, especially with reggae festival. Barbados was the best paying source for these reggae
Correct.
artists anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the
Correct.
world. You always got
Correct.
a higher price out of Barbados. It's an aspect this thing. And where the content, I would think in the same way that I understand how it works is that you will have to satisfy the police about the security, his security arrangement and security service to be able to create a safe venue and a safe show. In the same way, then, if he has to meet those security requirements, he also should meet requirements as to the content of his songs, with the proviso that if he sings anything about violence or raunchy sex or whatever, this guy, that the show would be shut down and he'd be fined. That's very. If you want the show, although I think the show is Barbados is just another fact. What will be the legacy benefits? What will the Barbadian artists, the few who might be retained, are not going to make any substantial money? So there's nothing left for Barbados to grow on to develop. It is just people with the money and the reach from Jamaica and etc. put together, come up with a fee as a place to make some more US dollars out of Barbados, which has been a very long time. So I think that is the context of what I say. As long as he can, it's a free system, but as long as he can meet those requirements as the content and security, especially in this climate, right? Because like it was said, you have to understand he brings with him a certain allure and attraction because of his presence, the notoriety. There's a market for that. And there's certain people like you heard me talk about hybristophilia, people are attracted to that, and though will go, you can imagine what I have to do is search for weapons and drugs. It's gonna be a nightmare to control. But I wish them luck.
Yeah. And I understand that it can benefit the economy, but we have to weigh, Miss McLean, look at what's happening in our schools. Let us look at this. And I'm telling you, I'm the last one to be bashing artists and entertainers and all of that. That's not me. That's not what I do. But I have been fighting about this, Miss McLean, pushing back on this gun violence, and I have been pushing back on the violence in schools and so on. And it has caused me, to really sit back, and I say to myself, will this set us back? We have not had any killings in the last 2 weeks, okay? None whatsoever. Yes, we've had some violence in the schools, and we have some stabbings and so on in the schools. We need those to stop. So I can't help. I can't help but wonder, though we are going to see some economic benefits, is this a good time, Miss McLean, with
Um,
what we're looking at?
I think generally I start from the last song that you mentioned, and if that is the kind of lyrics that he's gonna put into his songs, I mean the content does very little to uplift anybody's thinking or whatever. But I want to go back to a comment that I saw there earlier, um, and that has to do with the cost. No, and I heard Glenn say that so far that the fee is 750,000 Barbados dollars, which is three-quarters of a million Barbados dollars. Um, and I was trying the name Zulu Entertainment is, I've heard it, I believe, at Cropover, but I'm sure I've heard it in other contexts. I've been trying to research it. You see me I'm turning to my tablet, which I have charging, trying to see if I can find some information that keeps coming to mind when I think of the company. But I'll get back to that. But I am looking at the 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 whole issue, because think about it this way: you have benefits, of course, the activity. We know that the retail sector, clothing, services, personal services, nails and all of these things. We know how folks who go to these shows and others prepare. So when you look at the impact on commercial activity, interestingly, of course, a lot of what the people will be buying are imported as well. So when you look at the net benefits, it will not be as big as thing. But I'm just thinking of the whole cost beyond the fee of mounting the show, and whether in fact, as I said, there are two parts: the general, what I would call spin-offs in the economy, but in terms of the producers of the show, I am not convinced that they will do that strictly out of their pockets. Somebody had put up earlier, I think it was a comment from David Bowen, about whether there will be sponsorship of the show from the public purse, better known in this case as the NCF. As it says here, another aspect of this show is to consider the fact that such shows are often financially supported by the NCF. And this is one of the things, because at the end of the day, is it going to work out almost to be a subsidized show up front? And as I said, I'm taking away the commercial activity that will flow from this, the stores in town, the persons, the providing person services, as I said, etc. But the show itself, is this something that will stand alone in terms of financing and managing that, or will they have? Because if for 750,000, that's his fee, how many other people are producing what? That's the fee. That are there any other supplementary costs that accrue to paying for benefits for him and his who's coming with him, and so these things, so it's really, and I like when you talk about cost benefit analysis, because it's financial cost benefit analysis. I will call it psychological or psychosocial cost benefit analysis. In other words, what does it do to the young people who are anxious to participate in this? I mean, I may be showing my age, but my concern is when I look at a lot of the music that is coming out, and I will be very specific, coming out of are produced by our African brothers and sisters across the diaspora, and less so the music, but more the music videos and all of these things that go with it, because there's going to be promotion of these things. A lot of it is frankly very debasing, and particularly to women. When you look at the way people are dressed for these videos, the kind of dancing that they have. I mean, we just need to walk down the street for Kadooment Day and we see. So I think that at the end of the day, it will probably, from a strictly commercial point of view, and ironically, a lot of people who might benefit commercially may not even ever go near a show like that. But there's certain other or intangible, let me put it that way, intangible cost benefits that we have to look at as well.
Most definitely. Well, I have Mr. Millington, and this is something. This is we're going to. I want to keep this going, because I want us to really explore this. We're only touching the tip of the iceberg tonight with this particular topic, because of the time. But I want us to keep this going, running on the show where and there's going to be a time when we ask people to call in. We can't do it tonight, but we will ask people to call in concerning this. But Mr. Millington is here, and I made mention of him earlier. He was the first one who brought it to my attention, and I wondered how he knew I was thinking about this topic. And he brought it to my attention, and we have been discussing about this. Mr. Millington, welcome. Good night.
Yes, good night. Welcome to you and, well, all the panel. What I think we are not touching, I'm just going to get straight off to it. This is a high spirited situation that you are not on, that Barbados and the Caribbean pretend to not understand that this is not really about the superficial nature of the cost of it and this and that and the third. Look, let's face it. Let's go hit this thing straight on. We are dealing with spiritual activity that the person at hand. Let's when you don't have facts, well, not that I don't, but I'm gonna say it purposely, is alleged to be of the endorsement of some um, very very nefarious high spirited in involvement, and what that does and what that has had in terms of the effect on not only the Caribbean but the Black diaspora and those who literally immerse themselves in the lyricism of his music. It has a trans effect and a very serious more or less uh, purchase effect. So what people may not want to delve in, only people who really can understand spirit situations and spiritual authorities and stuff would actually begin to start to understand what we are dealing with, and uh, whether it be the whether it be the NCF or a prime minister or whoever it be, and they pretend not to understand the spiritual side of this thing that we are talking about. It is that they don't want to touch it because they don't want to unlock the secrets behind what we're talking about. When, what you dissect the lyricism that you are dealing with when it comes to Cartel and his music, that is not on the normal. This is you are dealing with high purchase sound music that literally in fact the listeners, we're talking about songs that I would have known from even time I was in secondary school, like things like Cartel, Come Breed Me and stuff. When you're talking about this is almost like spiritual lyricism of trans nature, where the lyrics
Mm,
actually engulf a person to the point where they literally want to reenact everything that they're hearing, and this is a realm that I am touching, that the average person is not going to talk on that level because they may say, oh, he's hitting a spooky, he's starting to sound very spooky and like he believes. But listen to me, if you don't want to believe, there are people that do believe and understand what they are doing with the lyricism and how it
mm,
and they know how it affects the listeners, and that is exactly what keeps them coming and literally under a trance that they just can't understand why they are behaving the way they are behaving, because it is a spiritual entrapment that is being released. This person, we and I don't speak hearsay. I have a lot of Jamaican high spiritus connections, not only in Jamaica but here in Canada and other places, that can confirm what I'm speaking of. This person is not your average fly by night person. This person, the lyricism is actually, to put it in layman terms, it is almost like a worship. So this is not just some person just getting up on a stage and singing a few words and stringing together. There's a spiritual attachment to it that literally entraps the masses. So we have to start to talk about the spiritual side of this thing, and not just the logistics and the who's giving it money and stuff. Money can give anybody money and thing, but we're talking about the destruction where people will find themselves, even children from as early as 4 and 5, singing those lyrics. And trust me, when they start to sing and hear those lyrics, they will want to hear schoolwork. Those are the same children those are the children that when you get those are the children that for the last 20 to 30 years in Barbados, the minivans. Look, you want to bet me? not ever coming to Barbados. 99.9% of the minivans and and ZR vans will be playing that music. And when the children come to school, it will be like they're let and they're after.
Yeah, it's breaking
And
up, breaking up a
when
little.
you
Okay,
see
go ahead.
a whole, sorry, oh sorry, when you realize that children from the ages of 4 and 5 are so attached to that music from and they can tell you every word on it. It's not just on a surface level because of just any artist. That is a more spiritual thing you have and I would because of time we don't have time to touch that. But you are dealing with a purpose or spiritual activity beyond the average. And in my opinion, what Cartel represents in the Caribbean and the world is beyond what even Rihanna represents um, um, globally. We don't understand. Barbados pretends that they don't understand, but they don't understand the magnitude of spiritual activity that Cartel's lyricism carries. What Cartel lyricism carries on a spiritual nature, none of Rihanna's songs can even touch. Has not even get to that stage. Not even her simplest or even her highest grade, her highest grossing song. So we are talking about the superficial side, but we have not even started to touch the spiritual aspect of this
Spiritual.
whole thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you so much, Mr. Millington, and it's good to bring that aspect of it in the conversation. There are people who are saying, that Cartel is just one out of many, and that there are other artists here that sing a couple where they sing a lot of nasty songs and nasty lyrics and so on. Um, but as a
well,
Jamaican, I can say, let me just say something to you, to this person, that if you have been follow Cartel and follow what has been happening since he got out of prison, and the way the people are, he is like a national hero wherever he goes. And so, what we're saying, all we're saying is that I think everybody understands people need to have fun and there needs to be enjoyment. What I am asking, I have to say, what I am asking is this what Barbados needs right now? Think about what just happened in the schools with our children. Think about the behaviors that we're trying to address and the root causes and so on. Is this really what we want to promote at this time in our culture? Is this what we want to promote in this, the psyche of Barbadians at this particular time? Is this worth it? Because we know of the financial gain that we're going to experience. Let me go to Shakwani. Shakwani, we're just gonna make a round of it again, and then before we close, you can listen to the conversation.
Yeah.
Yes, go right ahead, Shakwani.
So, in listening to the conversation and also reading the comments, I realize a lot of people in the comments are saying, but he's just one person and he's not really targeting children in terms of the events when he hosts it. But my point I really want people to take away, the prime minister and this administration made those A artists apologize because of the music they were producing. They wanted to maybe become the next cartel. They were trying a different genre and singing music that they thought the public and the wider, I guess, region wanted to hear. They
Indeed.
were trying to branch off into that area and they shut them down. They shut them down on the principle that it was promoted too much negativity, too much gun violence, too much vulgarness. And now we're bringing in, or they're allowing the artists to perform that same type of music. Well, those artists that had to apologize be allowed to perform there and perform that song that they created on that rhythm. Because I feel like if you're gonna do it for one, you should do it for the others.
Yep.
If you're gonna set a standard, it has to apply to everybody, even the international artists. You can't only be stifling your artists and then you're gonna let an international artist come into Barbados and then do whatever they feel like. And then what are the Beijing artists supposed to do now? Because they were trying to become a him, and you told them no, you can't do that here. You can't use our platform, our funding to do that. and now you're paying for you're assisting in paying for international artists to perform the same type of music that they were trying to produce. So to me, I think that they really need to relook what they want for the goals of Barbadians and what kind of things they want to support, because it can't be a double standard for the Bajan artists and then you're going to allow the international artists to do something different, because it's not fair to them. Yes, I do understand the music is very controversial, but as I tell people all the time, we can decide what we let our children listen to. On the van, we cannot. But the important thing is to speak to your children, keep the conversation open, and make sure that they understand how to interpret music like that, because it is music. That doesn't mean that you need to incite rage, you need to go and fight. This person may be singing from experience, or they may be making it up. So parents need to be very open with the children and don't try to hide things from them, because that makes the situation more dangerous when you try to protect them. They see violence all the time, they can hear about it online, they can read about it. So when you try to hide that from them, thinking that they don't know, they know. It's just they don't understand how to interpret what they're hearing, and we as the adults need to assist them in doing that.
Yes. Thank you, Shaquani. Let me go to Janine. Janine, I know we are older. You know, we're younger. Mr. Murray's 18 and Miss McLean is 17. Let's keep reinforcing that. But we are here having this discussion, and you probably are the youngest person on this panel. When we're talking like this, what do you think young people your age are hearing when we are speaking? We're having this discussion here tonight. What are they hearing, Janine?
I can only hope that they are listening to it and that they would start to sit down and think about how will this really impact them. Just going to the show. Yes, all of us do want to have a good time at some point in time, of course. But what does going to this show, what is this message, what is the message that we are trying to receive? What do we want for our future? I think that these are some of the things that they would now have to take into consideration. So it's a really great thing that we are having this conversation, because we can look at it from two ways. In 2010, um, he was supposed to perform in Barbados at the time, and he did not. And the Prime Minister at the time was given kudos for not allowing him to. And he would have also had a conversation with him. I think many of you can look on YouTube to locate that video with him and the then former Prime Minister, David Thompson at the time, who would have had a conversation about his music and about the impact. Because there's no denying that Vybz Kartel does have an impact on young people from a long time ago. And I think that maybe if you take the conversation maybe like to a positive one, hopefully, as Kate was saying, you can look at it in two ways. But at the end of the day, as young people, I can't only speak for myself. I would not be attending the show for sure. But I can only hope that the rest of them are hearing this and maybe could reconsider not only about going to the show, but in taking in the music on a daily basis, because what we listen to, we automatically become a part of. Sometimes we can find ourselves even humming songs, even when they're not playing. So you just have to take account of that.
Yes, yes. Mr. Murray, what's your final thoughts on this tonight?
I'd like to pick up what Mr. Middleton said. I think he's hit on a very important point. The point is that music is a form of creates a mood, it's conditioning, it creates outlook, it sends messages. Vybz Kartel is not just any other performer. Vybz Kartel has always created a cult of personality. That's why he has such a massive following. And when you are part of a cult, you are vulnerable to the manipulation by your music. And when you get a crowd of like-minded persons in a group, almost like mass hysteria, group thinking, and they behave, that's how you get right. They behave in the same way. And therefore, if the messages are not correct, that's why negative message cause me to fight, because that is the impact it has on their psyche and their behavior. And people act it out. My only advice would be that if he comes to Barbados, he should be strictly policed. It should be made, Barbadians should demand that no government funds or services directly or and it should go towards the support of the show. Anything he wants, he has to pay for. And that in the same way you have, like I said, physical policing, the lyrics and the promoters, the operator of the show must be told upfront any violation, shut down the show and be fined and they'll be fined. But I think you and the way the conditioning is a wider society problem. But that is something that we have to be conscious of. It happens every day. And music, that's why you get performers at a funeral, at a wedding, at a dub fight, at a calypso tent. It creates a different mood, a different mentality, a different behavior. You don't have fights. I think in all the years, I think probably only saw one scuffle at a calypso tent that's between a man who's getting horn or something and another fella. Well, you are not there for that. It does not create the mentality, the thinking, the values, the behavior, and it's all interlinked with the music. And the lyric
Yeah.
and the beat, and when the beat is repetitious and hypnotic, it is not very repetitious, hypnotic. It has an even more direct effect on your behavior.
Yes, yes, yes. Now, we're going to continue, as I said, this discussion, Miss McLean, because it will be interesting to look at some of these songs of cartel songs. I would love to be able to go through the lyrics here on the show and to look at some of the possibilities of songs that he could be singing and what impact we think that they would have on the community. I'm very serious about this because the work we're involved in, Ms. McLean, in working with the schools, going into the communities, and so on. I am concerned about what could possibly happen. And just before, I know what's his name is still here. Where? Oh, he's dropped out. Uh, Kid side. I'll have Miss McLean give the last word for this evening on the topic. We're just touching the surface. We're going to go a little deeper as we go on throughout the week. Miss McLean, what's your final word on this? Are you muted? I'm not hearing you for some reason. Oh boy, we can't hear you. Try again, Miss McLean. We're not hearing her. We're not hearing Miss McLean. I wanted to hear her. Miss McLean, just quickly go out and come right back in. I wanted to. I wonder if she can hear me. Okay. All right. So I want to read. Let me read some of the comments. That's here. Somebody says here it's better they were listening to cartel than cause every day they wake up and choose violence. I'm not sure what the person is saying about this. Somebody said it's me. Say bottom line, do not let him come. Pedro Grips Jefford said Luciferianism. The Luciferians rebranded as Lucis Trust. Hmm. Paul Messiah, I totally agree with Shakwani. Easy Day say yes, Mr. Murray, 100%. Okay, Nigel is saying he should not be permitted into Barbados. Okay, let's hear Miss McLean. Yes, go ahead, Miss McLean. I think we should be able to hear you now. Still can't. Can you guys hear her, or is just me? We can't
I
hear.
her.
Not hearing everybody, and all of our mics are off. Let me put my mic off. Well, unfortunately, but we're gonna hopefully Miss McLean can join us again tomorrow night. And we will continue on this topic. I think that this is important. I wanna thank Shakwani for being involved in this discussion tonight. Janine Butcher, and they're all from they're part of the Young Dems, And I want to thank, and Shaquani in particular is the spokesperson for the on youth for the Democratic Labour Party. We're going to have some, some other young people. I'm working on a show, but they were out doing a lot of things with this weekend. So I just grabbed them to come in and to speak. All right, and we're going to go in depth and go through some of the songs, and probably we in doing this discussion, Mr. Murray, Maxine, and everybody else, we might be able to force the promoter, if he comes, to gear the show, or to move the show in a particular direction, because good we can influence. We're a pressure group, right, Mr. Murray? We can influence the government to make certain decisions, about how money is going to be spent, because it can't be our money that is going to be spent on a show like this. They will have to show us how is it going to benefit us, in this country, and what is it going to do to our society and where we are right now. We can apply pressure, so I think that all of this that we're doing tonight is so very important. Kit Sight is here. Good night, Kit Sight. Can you have the final word before we close? Because we can't hear Miss McLean. Take 1 minute, Kit Sight. Go ahead.
Well, as I said before, in respect of the show, there will be economic benefits. Yeah, as we know, people will come from overseas. People will come back from the artistic side of it and on the social side of it. We know benefits, but I'm more worried about the development of our own artists and development here in Barbados, because we already have a subculture that is promoting sex and violence. We have a subculture of songs that are emerging of the Barbadian artists, and the Barbadian artists feel they must follow in the direction of the Jamaican artists. Now, the two societies are not the same. So we should really reflect something that is more of our own, and not trying to endeavor to be a gangster, endeavor to be a thug. So I am more looking at the development, and to me, we need to develop our own artists here in Barbados and create something like a social transformation.
Good social transformation through the music. I think that is powerful. That is powerful. Well, let me just thank everybody for joining tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks. I think this we can only continue from here and go a little deeper. And we talk about money. That it seems to be that is what we're hoping to get from it. And there's a little song as we talk about music that our young people have done, where our prime minister was saying that she wants money. So probably that's what this promoter is saying. I want money. So let's play that song, Dave. I sent you a new version in your WhatsApp, but I don't know if you saw that. But let's play what we have before we close the show tonight. Thank you.
I'm not interested in prosecuting the boy. I tell the agency already, I want money.
Wait, say what?
Money.
Whoa!
Money.
Yo!
I want money.
Wait, she really said that for you?
Money. I'm not interested in prosecuting the boy. I want money.
Whoa!
Money.
Whoa!
Money. Money. Money.
Yo!
Money.
You hear that?
Money.
She want money, yeah?
I want money. I want money.
You hear that? She want money, yeah?
I'm not interested in prosecuting the boy. I tell the agency already, I want money. I want money.
Boy, she only care about the money.
All right, guys. Good night. Good night. And I hope that's not what the promoter is saying. We're going to pressure them that it's going to be more than money. All right. They're going to do something for this country and change that show. All right. All right. God bless you all. Have a good night, folks. God bless. Bye-bye.